Chapter 201, Pakal. An hour later, Allan and Ponzu reached a village in the NGL. There is no one here. Were they all killed by the ants? Ponzu wondered aloud. Allan shook his head. No, they took them, not killed them. Why are they kidnapping them? Ponzu asked. Because chimera ants are produced by the queen, who need a lot of food every day to lay eggs. Therefore, the chimera ants will attack villages and take them away to be livestock. Ponzu was horrified. Where did those monsters come from? Why did they suddenly appear in here? Allan mused. As far as I know, those ants came from the Dark Continent, and there are two possible reasons as to why they came here. The first is that someone deliberately brought them here to achieve some goals. The second possibility is that the chimera ants have encountered the threat of extinction in the Dark Continent and came here as a last resort. As for why they came here, it's the same as before. Either someone deliberately put them here, or they chose this place since it's not developed by humans, as there is no means of communication and it's almost a locked-out place, which will give them time to develop. Where is the Dark Continent? Ponzu asked curiously. It's somewhere not suitable for humans to live there, Allan replied vaguely. Have you been there before? Ponzu asked again. Allan shook his head. No, there wasn't a chance. So, what possibility do you believe in? Did they come here by themselves, or did someone bring them here? Ponzu asked. Well, I don't know, but either way, the chimera ants pose great danger to all humans, and if they aren't dealt with, they can destroy us entirely. Ponzu seemed surprised by this. Do you mean this is a war between races? Allan smiled and said, it's not a way yet, but no matter how powerful the chimera ants get, they can't eradicate humans. They are dangerous because they don't have a natural predator. If they go to areas where humans are developed with high tech, they wouldn't have gone so far. Ponzu nodded. At this time, a wasp who was searching for the chimera ant's nest flew back. Ah, there is only one left. The others were killed. Ponzu said with eyes full of tears. She raised each wasp with great effort, and by the time she could communicate with them. Losing one was equivalent to losing a friend, and now, only one of them is left. Did that wasp bring any information? Allan asked without comforting her. Ponzu nodded. Well, it told me that there is a cave a few kilometers away, and chimera ants were moving inside, but they aren't sure if Pakal is there. Okay, let's go and take a look then. 10 minutes later, Allan and Ponzu reached the cave. Allan instantly used his observation haki to search the cave and discovered many chimera ants in there. Let's go in, Allan said. Ponzu nodded and followed while holding the jungle dagger tightly in her hand. After the two entered the cave, the chimera ants quickly detected them. Several strange-looking ants rushed toward them brainlessly. They were the lowest-ranked ants. Allan killed them directly, but he left one for Ponzu to kill. Seeing this, Ponzu slashed her dagger down toward the ant, and to her surprise, the ant was chopped down cleanly. So sharp. Killing a chimera ant with a single slash was something she didn't imagine. Haha, I said before, this dagger has a special effect on creatures like the chimera ants. Even ordinary people can kill the chimera ants with that dagger, not to mention someone much better than normal people. Ponzu was no longer afraid of the chimera ants and was quite confident now. The two marched forward all the way inside the cave while beheading as many chimera ants as they encountered. Finally, they reached the innermost chamber and saw a large pile of bones on the ground, and those bones belonged to humans. Those chimera ants made meatballs out of the captured humans and then transported them to their queen. At the same time, many people were still in the iron cages witnessing the slaughter without being able to do anything. This is so terrible. Ponzu saw this for the first time in her life and was frightened and almost vomited. When the ants noticed Allan and Ponzu, they rushed toward them, but Allan just waved his storm blade, beheading them directly. Seeing the chimera ants beheaded with a single strike, the imprisoned people were shocked. Allan slashed his sword at the cages and freed all the captures. At the same time, the system announced the completion of his rescue. Ding! You successfully rescued Pakal and received the Stall of Thunder. At this time, Pakal couldn't believe what was happening and said, Are you Allan? Allan nodded. It's been a while, Pakal. Pakal was quite surprised. I haven't seen you since we were in the Hunter Association. By the way, why are you in the NGL? I'm here to find Gon and Killua, Allan explained. What? They are here as well. Pakal was quite shocked and surprised. Allan nodded and said, "Let's talk in another place. Let's leave this place first." Chapter 202, Leave. After walking out of the nest, Allan counted the people here, and there were 23 people, excluding Ponzu and Pakal. Arranging for their escort would be a headache for Allan because there were many chimera ants around. If he let them go alone, they might turn to chimera ants' food. After thinking for a bit, Allan said, "Ponzu, you should leave the NGL with Pakal and those villagers. It's best to leave as soon as possible." Ponzu shook her head and said, "No, I decided to stay." "Why?" Allan was puzzled. "Because you saved my life, and I can't just leave after saying thank you like it is a small thing." Allan was dumbfounded as he didn't expect such an answer. Ding! Make a choice. 1. Agree with Ponzu and let her stay. Reward, Shield of Courage. 2. Make Ponzu leave. Reward, Gem of Power. The Shield of Courage is an item that can increase the power of the user's teammates, while the Gem of Power can enhance any item. After thinking about it, Allan picked the first option. It wasn't about the reward entirely, but because Ponzu seemed like a good girl. Since she wanted to stay here, this can be an opportunity for her to develop further and improve their relationship. On the side, Pakal couldn't help asking, "Ponzu, are you really staying?" Ponzu nodded and said, "Pakal, please take the villagers out of the NGL." Seeing that Ponzu insisted on staying, Pakal didn't persuade her, but he still hesitated for a bit and said, "By the way, if I encounter chimera ants on the way, I won't be able to defend the villagers, I might not be able to defend myself even." Allan naturally understood that Pakal alone wouldn't survive on his way out, so he said, "In that case, I will find 2 people to escort you." "Who?" Pakal asked in doubt. Apart from Allan, he didn't see anyone strong enough to escort them. Allan took out Yutsufusa and summoned Phaeton and Franklin. Since they were puppets, they wouldn't disobey his orders, so he could entrust the villagers and Pakal to them without worry. "Help me escort the villagers and Pakal out of the NGL." "Okay." Phaeton and Franklin obeyed unconditionally. He still has another puppet in store, which is Helfi's, and the 3 of them weren't weaker than Hisoka. As long as they don't encounter the king's guards, they can deal with everyone else. Pakal looked at Phaeton and Franklin in doubt. Allan directly said, "Don't worry, both of them are as strong as Hisoka. They can protect you till you leave." Hearing this, Pakal's face changed as he couldn't believe that they were that strong. After all, Pakal lost to Hisoka, who seemed really dangerous and mighty powerful, and now there are 2 people who are as strong as that monster protecting him. After overcoming his shock, Pakal thanked Allan for his help. "When I go back, I will call Chairman Netero and ask him to come over," Pakal said. He knew how dangerous the current situation was, and if it's not solved soon, there would be great danger. After Pakal and the 23 villagers left, Allan said to Ponzu, "Okay, let's go search for Gon and Killua." Ponzu nodded. "Do you regret staying here with me?" Allan couldn't help asking as he saw Ponzu lowering her head and staying silent. Ponzu gently shook her head and said, "No, I don't regret staying here." "Then why are you staying silent?" Allan asked. Ponzu hesitated for a bit. Then she said, "Do you think I will drag you down? After all, I'm weak, and I still insisted on staying with you." Hearing this, Allan smiled, "So, you were worried about this? Don't worry, and I'm strong enough to protect you. You're not a burden." Hearing this, Ponzu sighed in relief, "That's great then. I hope I can help you." Chapter 203, Items. On the way to Gon and Killua, Allan noticed that Ponzu didn't have any way to protect herself, so he gave her the Staff of Thunder and the Shield of Courage. "Ponzu, take these 2, Allan said. "What are those?" Ponzu asked curiously. "This is the Staff of Thunder, and this is the Shield of Courage. Use them to protect yourself," Allan explained. "But you already gave me the jungle's dagger," Ponzu replied. Allan smiled, "Compared to the jungle's dagger, these 2 items are more suitable for you." "Really?" Ponzu stared at them with wide, curious eyes and asked, "How do I use them?" "The Staff of Thunder can release lightning-like energy to strike at enemies from a distance. So it can take away the hassle of getting close to those chimera ants," Allan explained. Ponzu exclaimed, "So strong! What about the shield?" "The Shield of Courage can defend against attacks and enhance your teammates' attacks, Allan explained. In other words, I can use the shield to increase Allan's attack power, right? Allan nodded. At this time, Allan saw a chimera ant close by and said, "Here, I will demonstrate their effect." So Allan picked the staff of thunder and pointed at the chimera ant in the distance. Go! With Allan's voice, an energy beam was released out of the staff of thunder and instantly killed the chimera ant. That's amazing! Ponzu exclaimed in surprise. The range of attack of the staff of thunder is about 50 meters. Within this range, you can hit any creature, but remember, the farther the target is, the weaker the attack gets and vice versa. Also, you can charge the attack before releasing it. The longer the charge is, the stronger the attack gets. What about the Shield of Courage? It's very simple. For defense, you just lift it up, and if you want to buff your teammates, think about releasing the energy inside it. Understood. After receiving the items, Ponzu returned the jungle's dagger to Allan. At this moment, Allan felt a few auras approaching them, and soon 3 chimera ants stood in front of them. The ants didn't rush in but were vigilantly observing from a distance. That man looks very strong. That woman isn't strong, and she's just a normal person. In that case, we only need to kill that man. The 3 ants instinctively felt danger from Allan and decided to go against him together while ignoring Ponzu. Allan could tell that those 3 were squadron leaders from their aura, but he wasn't going to face them. Instead, he looked at Ponzu and said, "Ponzu, take care of them." Okay. Ponzu was a little nervous, but she didn't hesitate. The 3 ants slowly approached Ponzu and Allan, moving slowly, step by step in caution. Allan stood behind Ponzu while watching the ants, ready to protect Ponzu if she was in extreme danger. "You want a woman to deal with us? Humph, you're underestimating us. A mere human dares to look down on us. Let's kill the woman first, then deal with him." The ants saw that Allan wasn't going to make a move, so they decided to kill Ponzu first before joining hands and killing him. "Go ahead, Ponzu." Seeing the ants were within 10 meters, Allan reminded her. "Yes." Ponzu nodded, raised the staff of thunder and pointed at one of the ants, then shouted, "Release." In the next second, a burst of energy rushed out, blasting toward the ant, who couldn't react in time. Boom! The energy exploded directly, killing the ant. The other 2 were stunned as they didn't expect this girl to have such a strong attack. "Release." Ponzu, without hesitating, once again attacked using the staff of thunder, killing the second ant. The last and finally reacted and rushed toward Ponzu quickly, which made the latter raise the Shield of Courage, and with a bang, she blocked the ant's attack. Damn it! The ant didn't retreat but instead kept attacking, and mysteriously, every hit was directed toward the shield. T/L, he could have attacked anywhere else, but he mysteriously attacked the shield. Charge release. Ponzu held the staff of thunder that was being charged and aimed at the ant before releasing an energy attack from a close distance. The chimera ant couldn't react and directly exploded. After finally dealing with the 3 ants, Ponzu sat down exhausted. Although she killed the 3 ants, she consumed too much energy. "Good job, Ponzu." Ponzu blushed slightly at Allan's praise and said, "It's all thanks to the items you gave me. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for me to kill them by myself." Chapter 204, Aura. As night fell, Allan and Ponzu ate dinner and then went to a deserted village for rest. Every single villager from this village was either killed or captured by the ants. "Aren't you going to rest?" Ponzu looked at Allan sitting beside the door and asked. "This place is full of chimera ants that can appear at any time, so I will sit here to guard. If you're sleepy, go ahead and sleep." "All right." Ponzu didn't have much energy to stay awake anyway. After some time, Allan stood up suddenly, which startled Ponzu. "What's wrong?" Ponzu got up quickly and asked. "We are surrounded. There are more than 100 ants outside the village. It seems like they knew we are here beforehand and gathered their troops to attack." Hearing this, Ponzu's expression changed slightly. "What should we do now?" "Of course, we're going to wipe them out," Allan said confidently. Ponzu couldn't help feeling a little worried. "Can we deal with so many of them with us alone?" Allan smiled. It seemed like Ponzu didn't know how strong he was yet. Allan didn't explain and just said, "You don't need to go this time. Stay here, and I will deal with them." "How can I do that? What if you were injured?" Seeing Ponzu worried about him, Allan smiled and patted her head before saying, "Don't worry, I'm very strong." Ponzu nodded, "Okay, be careful." Allan walked out and disappeared into the woods. After a short while, screams filled the woods, and they lasted for 2 minutes. 2 minutes later, Allan walked out with a relaxed look. He killed a total of 123 ants, including the squadron leaders. The squadron leaders were following them for a while now, but Allan didn't do anything and waited for them to act. They gathered their troops and surrounded the village at night, preparing to ambush them while they least expected, but they underestimated Allan too much. Even if another 10,000 of them appeared, he could deal with them without even consuming much energy. It will just cause an annoyance at his current level. Other than the Ant King and his guards, Allan didn't think other ants could actually give him a fight. But it seems like the guards weren't born yet. Allan seemed to raise a flag because as soon as he thought of this, a terrifying aura appeared from a distance. Huh? This aura? Allan's face changed slightly as he spread his observation haki. Although he couldn't tell how far that aura was, he was sure that it was only a few kilometers away. This was the most terrifying aura Allan felt since coming to this world. This aura can be compared to Xeno Zaldik and even Netero, but since Netero and Xeno didn't go all out against Allan, the aura he was feeling was stronger than what those monsters showed before. Allan was sure that the source of this aura was one of the king's guards. Ding! Make a choice. 1. Look for the source of the aura and meet him. Reward, Huiu. 2. Retreat. Reward, Mido. Needless to say, Allan picked the first option. After all, he came here to save Gon and Killua and fight the ants. After Allan returned to the village, Ponzu saw Allan's serious face and asked, "What's the matter?" "A monster appeared," Allan said and took a sip of water. "Monster? Aren't the Chimera ants monster? Didn't you deal with them? Are there more?" "Well, a very powerful monster appeared, and even if Chairman Netero came here, I'm afraid he had to face it seriously." "What should we do then?" Ponzu couldn't help asking nervously. "If someone like Chairman Netero couldn't handle a monster, then no one can." Allan said, "I'm worried that this monster will look for Gon and Killua, so I'm going to look for it." "Are you confident in facing that monster?" Ponzu asked. "Of course." Allan laughed without explaining much. Without mentioning his own power that reached the peak of this world, he had a bunch of skills that could defeat the king's guards. For example, his Ice Fruit, Star Platinum, Mangekyo Sharinon, 8 Gates, his swordsmanship skills. Each one of them was strong on its own, and using them together would be overkill. With those cards up his sleeve, Allan wasn't afraid even if the Ants King came. "You should stay here, I'm going toward that monster. Wait for me." He didn't want to take Ponzu along as he didn't want to look after her when someone as strong as the king's guards attacked him. "Allan, be careful. I will wait for you till you come back." Ponzu opened her hands and hugged Allan for a while before reluctantly letting go. She felt secure with Allan around, and she needed that sense of security. "Don't worry. I will be back." After saying this, Allan flashed quickly toward the monstrous aura. Chapter 205, The Catwoman Neferpitou. In the darkness, a shadow was quickly passing through the forest. At the same time, Gon, Killua, and Kite were resting in their camp to recover their spent energy. Suddenly, Kite, who was in charge of guard duty, suddenly felt a terrifying aura, and cold sweat covered his back. It was the most terrifying aura he felt in his life. "What's wrong, Kite?" Gon and Killua saw Kite's change and asked quickly. Both thought that Kite was exhausted after wiping out the Chimera ants. Killua asked, "Kite, go and rest. I will guard tonight." Kite didn't respond and looked somewhere without saying anything, and his expression turned even more serious. "Gon, Killua, you guys leave quickly. Remember, don't look back and run away quickly. You need to escape as far as possible and absolutely don't get back here." "Run away?" Both Gon and Killua looked confused. Kite took a deep breath and said, "A monster is currently heading toward our location. You need to run now, and I will block it." "What? No way." Although they couldn't believe it, they had to comply when they saw how serious Kite was. "Let's go, Gon, let's listen to Kite." Killua quickly made his choice. Kite was stronger than both of them, and since even Kite said it was a monster, they wouldn't be able to do anything. "Kite, let's run away together," Gon said. Kite shook his head and said, "No, that monster has already made me its target. I can't go with you too, so leave quickly." But, Gon still wanted to persuade Kite, but at this moment, Kite shouted, "Damn it, it's already here, run away quickly. I will stop it for a while." Just when Kite's finished his swords, the monster in the distance rushed toward them. It was extremely fast, and none of them could react. In a blink of an eye, it was already in front of Kite, Gon, and Killua. When Gon and Killua reacted, they saw Kite standing in front of them, and his left hand was missing. "Kite, are you okay?" Gon asked in concern. Kite replied, "I'm okay. You guys quickly run away." "How could you be okay? You lost your left hand to protect us," Gon said angrily. Killua felt uncomfortable, but he was more logical than Gon. He understood that the monster that cut off Kite's hand was too strong, that even the three of them together wouldn't pose a threat to it. Compared to Killua, Gon was already blinded by anger. "Damn it, how could you cut his hand off?" Gon stared at the monster angrily. The monster's appearance was different from that of a human. It looked more like a cat. From the appearance alone, it can be said that this monster looked somewhat cute instead of scary. She is the Catwoman, Neferpitou, one of the king's guards and the strongest of them. Although her appearance may seem cute, she was indeed a monster. At this point, the overwhelming dark aura was surrounding Pitou as her red ruby eyes looked at the Nen emitted from Gon's body and said, "Meow. Sure enough, you three are rare. I can't let you go." "Rare?" Killua frowned. "She is probably referring to those with Nen ability is rare," Kite said seriously. "Does the Chimera ants know Nen?" Killua wondered. Maybe they killed someone with Nen ability, and when they ate him, they could tell it wasn't an ordinary human. "Your kind are very rare. The three of you should be strong, right? You can stay and play with me. My name is Neferpitou, one of the Ant King's guards. Because I'm just born, I really want to test my strength." Neferpitou, one of the Ant King's guards. Both Kite and Killua processed this information and felt a terrifying premonition. It's just one of the guards, so to say, there is more than one. "Meow, that's right," Neferpitou answered Killua's question. At this time, Gon already charged ahead with a charged fist. "Take this." Seeing the dazzling energy covering Gon's fist, Neferpitou didn't avoid it, but her eyes lit up. "Meow. Can you condense your force into your fist?" "Meow, okay, let's see how strong it is." Neferpitou put her arms in front of her to block Gon's Hajinkan. In the next second, a bang resounded as Gon's fist hit Pitou's arm. The force of the fist knocked Pitou a few meters away, and that's it. Chapter 206, Killua vs. Pitou. Seeing the Catwoman being blown away by Gon, Kite immediately shouted, "Hurry up, take Gon and run." "I got it." Killua nodded. He knew that Gon's punch wouldn't damage the Catwoman. He directly shouted, "Gon, let's leave quickly." Gon realized that his attack didn't have any effect on Pitou, but he still worried about Kite. Yelled, "Kite, let's leave together." He knew that if Kite stayed back, he would die, and Gon didn't want that to happen. Although Kite was very helpless about Gon's impulsiveness, he knew that the latter was just being his kind self. At this moment, a terrifying aura enveloped Gon and Killua. Kite was taken aback. It seems that Gon's Nen is completely useless against that monster. The aura seemed to turn into two dark claws grabbing Gon and Killua, respectively. Although Kite wanted to save them, he was powerless in front of the monster. If he did anything, that woman would kill them. At this time, Gon and Killua couldn't move. This killing intent is too strong. Killua's forehead oozed with cold sweat. Pitou's killing intent dwarfed Illumi's by far. "Meow. If you try to run away, I will kill you immediately." Pitou opened her ruby-red eyes and stared at Gon and Killua like a god of death. At this moment, they knew that Pitou wasn't someone they could contend with. "Meow. That power you used was good, but it wasn't enough to break my defense. In other words, I'm stronger than you. So now, it's my turn, be ready." Pitou moved and was in front of Gon in an instant. Although Gon was prepared, he couldn't react to Pitou's speed. Under the watch of Killua and Kite, Gon's body flew like a cannonball due to Pitou's kick. Gon flew back and broke several big trees along the way before he finally stopped. "Gon!" Killua shouted. "Bastard! How could you hurt Gon?" Killua was really angry at this time. He can no longer calm down. Kite was very nervous when he saw Killua couldn't keep his calm, and at the same time, he was even more worried about Gon. Even if Gon used Ken to defend against that kick, he wouldn't be able to defend. Killua rushed at Pitu using rhythm echo, which creates several afterimages to confuse the opponent while making his nails sharp. Killua suddenly waved his hand at Neferpitu without hesitation, trying to kill her. However, Pitu easily avoided his attempt. It was like a 10-year-old kid fighting an adult, and there was no chance of winning at all. Meow. Your speed is good, and your skills are splendid as well, but you don't have enough power to hurt me. While avoiding Killua's attacks, Pitu evaluated the former's power. Humph. Try this then. Killua was a transmutter that could transform his Nen to electricity, and right now, he activated that ability. Lightning Palm. Killua charged his hands with electric current and then waved them at Pitu. The destructive power of this skill wasn't great, but it can paralyze the target for a few seconds if hit. Sure enough, Pitu was hit by the lightning palm and couldn't move. Killua didn't let this opportunity slide and attacked. Thunderbolt. Killua leaped into the air above Pitu and projected a bolt of lightning from his fingers. Killua's attack hit Pitu directly, and her curly hair stood due to the electric shock. Did I make it? T/L, flag. Flag. Killua was breathing hard as he retreated back, creating some distance between himself and Pitu. 2 seconds later, Pitu said, Meow. A good attack, but it couldn't cause any damage to my body. What kind of monster is this? Killua's heart turned cold as he muttered. This monster was too strong, and even his strongest attack couldn't cause any damage. Then, it's my turn to attack you, then, be ready. In the next second, Pitu disappeared and rushed toward Killua quickly that Kite could hardly follow her. Avoid quickly, Killua. As soon as Kite shouted, Pitu was already in front of Killua. Killua was prepared, but he still couldn't keep up with Pitu's speed and could only cross his arms, waiting for her attack to land. Boom! Just like Gon, Pitu kicked Killua, and just like Gon, Killua was launched back like a cannonball. Kite was anxious, he was worrying about Gon and Killua, but at this time, Pitu said, Now, it's your turn. After kicking Killua, Pitu directly stood in front of Kite as if looking at prey. Kite knew that with Gon and Killua's vitality, they wouldn't die easily, so he temporarily stopped worrying and decided to try dealing with this monster in front of him. If he didn't use 100% of his power, he would be definitively killed, so he could only try his best. Chapter 207, Number 3, Magic Wand. Meow. I can tell that you're stronger than those two. Feeling the Nen emanating from Kite's body, Pitu could tell that the latter was stronger than Gon and Killua. Cats are curious by nature, so when they find prey they fancy, they won't kill it directly, but instead, they would play with it till they get bored. Pitu had the characteristics of cats, and in her eyes, Kite was a worthy prey to have fun with. Facing Pitu's playfulness, Kite didn't slack off. Come out. Kite activated his Nen ability. Bang! Kite's Nen ability is called Crazy Slots and allows him to conjure some weapons with a clown affixed to them. A roulette appears on the clown's tongue with numbers 1 to 9, each corresponding to a specific weapon. Whatever number randomly appears, the weapon that corresponds to that number is conjured, which means that Kite cannot choose what weapon to summon. What a terrifying enemy, Kite! You're in a really dangerous situation. Kite said coldly, Stop talking nonsense and give me a weapon. Okay, I will give you a good number this time. In the next second, a roulette appeared and began spinning frantically. Then when it stopped, the number 3 appeared. Transform into the weapon number 3. In the next second, the clown transformed into a magic wand. Tisk, it's actually number 3. Kite wasn't satisfied with his weapon but could do nothing about it. He will use his strongest attack with the wand. Pitu looked curiously at the magic wand in Kite's hand. Meow. What does that wand do? Come on, use it and let me see. As you wish. Kite snorted coldly and rushed toward her. Here I go. Pitu tried into position but discovered that she couldn't move. Boom. Kite directly hit Pitu and sent her back a few meters. Meow. What happened just now? I couldn't move. Is it the wand's ability? After asking this, Pitu adjusted her posture and looked at Kite curiously. Kite looked at Pitu and rushed forward again. I will go again. Take a look. Seeing Kite approaching, Pitu readied her claws to attack, but once again, she couldn't move. Pitu felt that her hands and feet were bound by something invisible. Boom! Once again, Kite hit Pitu, and the latter flew back and broke 2 trees. However, even though Kite used all of his strength in that attack, Pitu wasn't harmed at all. At this time, Pitu aimed her claws at Kite. Those claws cut Kite's hand easily before, and if he was hit again, he would die. Facing Pitu's attack, Kite used the wand in his hand to block her claws. However, even though he blocked her, he was still sent back a few steps. Pitu took advantage of this and rushed again, attacking Kite frantically. In front of such a fierce attack, Kite could only stand still and defend. But Pitu's attacks were getting stronger and stronger, and Kite could hardly resist any more. Stop! Suddenly, the magic wand in Kite's and released a huge amount of Nen and imprisoned Pitu. Pitu's attacks stopped as Kite's wand affected her again. This wand had the ability in which it can stop the target and imprison them for some time, and Kite could use this ability to attack and defend. After using this ability, Kite instantly distanced himself away from Pitu and took a fighting stance. The effective range of this ability is only 3 meters, so if he was more than 3 meters away, it wouldn't work. Moreover, this ability consumed a lot of Nen and had a cooldown time, which is 30 seconds. And since Pitu was too strong, he could only stop her for a second, and she would be free again. Pitu suddenly released a huge amount of Nen as she got serious. Kite, who was planning to take this opportunity to attack her, was shocked by the sudden burst of Nen. In a second, Pitu was in front of Kite, who could do nothing. Chapter 208, Silent Waltz. Meow! Won't he die like this? After knocking Kite in the air, Pitu didn't take advantage of the situation. She squatted down like a cat and watched Kite in the air while muttering to herself. However, at this moment, terrifying energy came from the woods chopping down trees in the way. Upon seeing this, Pitu stood up on all 4 and jumped in the air to avoid the slash. In the depth of the woods, a figure walked out slowly. Looking closely, it was Kite, who was knocked in the air before. There was a large scar on his left shoulder, and he was no longer bleeding anymore. Fortunately, the wound he sustained was deep, and although it would affect him in battle, it wasn't hard to fight like this. I don't know how Gon and Killua are doing, so I must deal with this monster quickly. Pitu fell back down while looking at Kite seriously. At this time, Kite was holding a scythe in his hand. It was the number 2, scythe. This scythe is extremely sharp and could possibly cut anything. Even a monster like Neferpitu can be cut if hit directly. Silent Waltz. Kite waved the scythe in his hand, sending a terrible slash toward Neferpitu. Seeing the attack coming toward her, Pitu didn't dodge this time but decided to face it head-on. Boom! A huge explosion erupted as the attack collided with Pitu's claws. The trees all around them were cut down. Kite saw Pitu squatting on the ground, but there was no apparent injury on her body. She actually blocked it. Kite was a little surprised, and he didn't expect that Pitu's body was so strong that it could block his strongest attack. This is really painful. Look at this. Pitu said and pointed at a scar due to the last attack. Kite snorted and rushed forward with his scythe in hand and engaged in close combat against Pitu. Even without performing the silent waltz, the scythe was extremely sharp and quite powerful at close range. On the other side, Allan was getting closer and closer to Kite and Pitu. He stopped on a hillside and then started searching. There are 4 presences, one is Pitu without a doubt, the other strong one is Kite, the 2 weak ones should be Gon and Killua, and they seem injured. It took 2 minutes for Allan to find Gon and Killua, both of them were unconscious and seriously injured. Allan lifted both of them to the edge of the bush and then used the prey of the holy light to heal them. After a while, they both regained consciousness. Allan! You finally arrived, Allan! Gon and Killua were pleasantly surprised as they saw Allan. Are you okay? Allan asked. Well, I'm okay. Gon clenched his fist as he said. No problem, I won't die. Killua smiled. You guys stay here, Allan ordered. Since he was going to fight Pitu, he couldn't heal both of them completely. That Catwoman was strong. If he fought her while he was exhausted, it would be bad. Of course, he had trump cards and wasn't worried much, but just in case, he needed to be in a perfect state. Where is Kite? Gon asked. He was the first one to be hit by Pitu, so he didn't know what had happened. I'm afraid that he is fighting that monster, Killua replied. He was also beaten by Pitu, so he didn't know Kite's current situation, so he concluded that he must be fighting Pitu right now. Kite's hand was cut off in order to protect us. With his injury, he won't be able to fight for long. Gon said worriedly. Yet, although he is strong, that monster is much stronger than him, and it was just testing us before. If it really wanted to kill, Kite won't be able to resist. Killua said seriously. Don't worry, and I will help Kite, Allan said. Then, you should quickly go. We will wait for you here. Killua urged. He knew that Allan was strong. He saw him fight many times and was confident in the latter's strength. Allan, please save Kite, and you must kill that monster. It is too dangerous. Gon said seriously. Don't worry. I'm heading off. Allan used flash steps and rushed toward Pitu and Kite. Chapter 209, Senzubean's Efficacy. Boom. In the NGL forest, an explosion after the other erupted as trees fell left and right. Two figures were separated by 10 meters. One was a cat woman standing on all four, while the other person was a man half kneeling on the ground. After a fierce battle, Kite was full of wounds, which affected his combat effectiveness greatly. On the other hand, Pitu only suffered some skin scratches and nothing else. The difference between their strength was too great, and even if his arm wasn't cut off at the start, he wouldn't be able to win this fight. Is this the end? Kite held his scythe and muttered. Seeing Pitu rushing over toward him, he could only try his best to survive. He tried to block Pitu's attack with the scythe, but he was sent flying, breaking several trees on the way. Pitu jumped and arrived in front of Kite and said, Meow. This is the last attack. Seeing Pitu waving her claw at him, Kite couldn't even lift a finger and waited for death. However, just as the claws were about to end his life, Pitu's face changed, and the attack that was originally aimed at Kite changed direction. At the same time, a figure suddenly appeared and punched Pitu. Boom! Pitu's claws collided with the fist, and an explosion erupted from the shockwave, blowing several trees away. In the next second, Pitu flew away, but she adjusted her posture in the air and landed on all four. Meow! Who are you? Pitu looked in Kite's direction and saw a man standing in front of him, with black hair and black eyes, looking coldly at her and releasing an astonishing aura. It looks like a very strong guy came to take a look. Pitu stared at the man, not in fear but excitement. At the same time, Kite stared at the man and asked, Who are you? Kite was extremely surprised by this man who saved him at the last second. I'm Allan, Gon, and Killua's friend. Kite smiled bitterly and asked, You're here to find Gon and Killua? The two of them were hit by that monster, and I don't know how they are currently. I'm sorry, but I wasn't strong enough to protect them. Don't worry, the two of them are okay. I have taken them to a safe place to recover. Knowing that Gon and Killua weren't in danger made Kite relax. How are you? Can you stand up? Allan glanced at him. I think so. Kite stood up with great difficulty. Seeing this, Allan took a senzu bean and threw it at Kite. What's this? Looking at the green bin in his hand, Kite asked in confusion. That's called a senzu bean, and it can heal anyone who isn't dead yet. Since you're seriously injured, you can take it and heal your injuries. Is it so amazing? Although Kite doubted whether this senzu bean could really save him, he still ate it. In the next second, Kite felt his injuries healing, and his power quickly recovered. Within 3 seconds, Kite's injuries were fully healed. Even his arm that was cut off grew back like. He looked as if nothing had happened to him at all. Kite was extremely surprised, and he felt as if he was reborn. This is amazing, and I never knew that such an amazing treasure existed, Kite exclaimed. That senzu bean isn't produced in this world, Allan said. Not from this world. Although Kite had the same doubt, he didn't ask and instead thanked Allan. Allan, thank you very much, I owe you my life. Don't worry about it. The senzu bean is there for someone who needs it. You're worthy of the hunter's name, and I just can't let you die in good conscience, so there is no need for thanks. Although Allan said that there is no need for thanks, Kite still remembered this kindness in his heart and will try his best to return it tenfold. However, they couldn't relax right now because Pitu was still staring at them. At this time, Pitu was curiously staring at Kite, who was like new. Be careful. That monster is very strong. Kite raised his scythe and said seriously. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Take Kite and leave. Reward, Nan increase by 5,000. 2. Face Neferpitu and defeat her alone. Reward, Shinra Tensei. 3. Join hand with Kite and defeat Neferpitu. Reward, Senzubin X1. Without any hesitation, Allan picked the second choice. He looked at Kite and said, Kite, you can go back and take care of Gon and Killua. I will take care of her. What? Kite was taken aback and asked, Are you serious? Allan nodded, Of course, I will be enough to deal with her. Kite didn't seem to agree, Allan, although you are very strong, you're probably not strong enough to take this monster alone. But if we join hand, we can deal with it. Allan smiled, Indeed, if we talk about Nan alone, then both of us can't compare with her, but you should remember that Nan isn't everything in a fight. I'm confident that I can defeat her, so don't worry. Seeing Allan so confident, Kite didn't say much else about this. Okay, take care. I'm going to find Gon and Killua. Kite said. Go ahead. Allan nodded. Meow. Do you want to leave? It's not that easy. Seeing Kite was about to leave, Pitu immediately attacked him. At this moment, Allan also moved, and his aura skyrocketed. The monstrous aura made both Kite and Pitu stop in their track. After the initial shock, Pitu directly retreated and created some distance between herself and Allan while Kite looked at Allan in surprise and shock. Chapter 210, Hand-to-Hand Combat. Although House Hoku Haki can't cause damage to Pitu, it can make her re-evaluate Allan's threat level. This guy is very strong. Seeing Pitu not moving anymore, Allan turned to Kite and said, Go on, find Gon and Killua. I believe she won't try to stop you again. Kite nodded and looked at Allan deeply before rushing away quickly. He wasn't worried anymore because that aura Allan exuded caught the monster's attention, and other than Allan, nothing existed for her right now. Therefore, he can leave without worrying about Pitu attacking him. Kite was also deeply shocked by Allan's aura, as he had never felt such an amazing aura before. Pitu was looking at Allan without paying attention to Kite. In her eyes, Allan was a dangerous existence that could threaten her. If Allan weren't killed here, he would be an existence that can threaten all Chimera ants and even the Ant King. Therefore, Pitu decided to kill Allan and eliminate the threat this dangerous human posed to her race and king. Allan looked at Pitu without any worry, and he seemed relaxed even. Meow. Finally, Pitu took the initiative to attack Allan, and at the same time, Allan launched his counter-attack. Under the night's sky, Allan and Pitu collided, creating massive shockwaves that destroyed their surroundings. Soru. Allan suddenly appeared in front of Pitu. Armament, hardening. With a jet-black fist, Allan slammed Pitu. Boom. Although Pitu defended herself well, she was still sent flying. You're very strong, meow. Pitu felt the mighty power Allan had, and the latter's threat level increased even more. Pitu jumped and rushed toward Allan quickly, waving her claws repeatedly. With her racial talent, she had an advantage in close combat. However, even though Allan was a human, he wasn't behind her in power. Allan only used Soru, Armament Haki, and Observation Haki till now. He didn't use neither the other Rokushiki techniques nor the Ice Fruit. The Armament Haki can already be content with Pitu's power, while Observation Haki can track her movement and predict her attacks. Then he would use Soru to dodge and attack accordingly. Pitu was extremely strong indeed because, while Allan was using all those techniques, she was only relying on herself. This human is too strong. After a fierce battle, Pitu was getting annoyed as she didn't gain the advantage even once when fighting Allan. The battle between Allan and Pitu made all living creatures in a radius of 10 kilometers shiver in fright. Allan knew that relying only on those three techniques, and he wouldn't be able to win against Pitu. After all, she was the strongest of the king's guards and the first one to be born. She had speed, power, and a superior battle instinct. So, it was almost impossible for him to win without using any other power. If this goes on, neither of us will win, Allan said. Yes, meow. You're really strong. Pitu stared at Allan with piercing eyes. Then, I will get a little more serious, be ready. Allan laughed. You still didn't use your full power. Seeing Allan's confident face, Pitu was a little afraid now. Ice time. Suddenly, icy cold air spread from Allan's palm and covered the surrounding area. In an instant, Pitu was frozen and turned into ice sculpture. In addition to Pitu, 500 meters froze, with Allan being at the center. Chapter 211, Ice Meteor. Although Allan successfully froze Pitu in seconds, he knew that such a monster like her wouldn't be so easily defeated. Sure enough, after 2 seconds, the frozen Pitu broke free with a bang, and the ice surrounding her shattered. She instantly jumped away to create some distance from Allan and looked at him warily. Allan knew that she felt a great threat from the cautious look in her eyes. Ice Age. Allan raised his hands, and the surroundings started freezing, and the temperature dropped sharply. Allan was an ice person, so he wasn't afraid of cold. Furthermore, fighting in such an environment is advantageous for him. But Pitu wasn't the same, and such a harsh environment would cause her great disadvantage. Although she was a monster with a strong body, the cold would slow her reflexes and create advantages for Allan. Allan looked around and said, "This will be your burial place. Meow. Try if you can." After saying this, Pitu bent down, and her claws touched the ground before jumping quickly, shattering the ice under her feet. Allan didn't panic while facing the aggressive attack from Pitu. Instead of a hard thick wall of ice instantly condensed in front of him, blocking Pitu. Boom! Pitu waved her claws at the wall and tore it down, and continued forward toward Allan. Allan waited for a bit, and at the critical moment when he was about to get hit, he used moonwalk and stepped into the air, dodging Pitu's attack. Pitu posted for a second before once again starting her attacks. She was extremely fast, but in front of someone like Allan, who had observation haki, her speed was nothing. She could only rely on her physical strength to try and gain an advantage against Allan, but the latter already knew this and wasn't worried. His own body was strong, maybe even stronger than Pitu, and while she had stronger Nen, Allan's control and precision were far superior. Allan had many techniques, but he didn't plan on using them. Instead, he decided to deal with Pitu using only the ice fruit. After dodging for a while, Allan suddenly disappeared from Pitu's eyes. She stood in place and suddenly looked at the sky. Currently, Allan was standing 100 meters in the air above Pitu using moonwalk. Even though Pitu had great eyesight, she couldn't see Allan clearly from such a distance, not to mention attacking him. She wouldn't be able to reach him at all, even if she tried. Allan was superior in the air since Pitu couldn't reach him there. Pitu was helpless and could only stay on guard. After a few seconds, an extremely cold wind came from above. Pitu could see a giant iceball, close to 80 meters in size, like a meteorite coming down from the sky. Meow. Pitu frowned, and cold sweat covered her back. Even seeing the size of the iceball alone can give anyone a shock. She looked at iceball seriously and knew she couldn't escape. She grinned and let out a roar, and then she opened her claws. The muscle on her body started swelling and then up to face it head-on. The huge ice ball directly blocked Pitu's escape route, and with a blink of an eye, the ice ball fell on the ground. Cracks filled the ground, and a huge pit covered in ice replaced the frozen forest. Did she die? In the air, Allan stared at the pit below and wondered. He was sure that even if she didn't die from this, she should be seriously injured. Chapter 212, Injured. After using observation haki, Allan quickly found Pitu inside the pit. She was tattered, her hair was disheveled, but she wasn't dead. Allan wasn't surprised because he knew very well how tough Pitu was. However, the ice meteor has caused injuries without a doubt. Allan noticed this by the aura he perceived using observation haki. Pitu's presence was weak. Of course, Allan consumed too much stamina creating that meteor, but he still can fight without any disadvantage, which means that he has the upper hand now. Okay, let's play for a bit. Allan went down and stood in front of Pitu with his finger hooked provocatively. Allan was already a threat in Pitu's eyes, but seeing his provocation, she rushed forward and attacked with her claws. Allan didn't dodge but used armament haki to engage in close combat with Pitu instead. Since Pitu relied on agility in the fight, Allan decided to use Wolf Fang Fist to fight like a beast, the same way as Pitu. Obviously, the Wolf Fang Fist was superior to Pitu's style, and once he started using it, Pitu was on the losing side. Boom! Pitu was sent back and smashed into a tree. She was very angry and rushed back toward Allan aggressively, who was grinning. Flash steps. When Pitu almost hit him, Allan used flash step and disappeared. Meow! Pitu's eyes quickly looked around, and as soon as she caught Allan's figure, she chased after him. While pulling away from Pitu, Allan raised his right hand, and spherical energy started forming inside his palm. While Pitu was rushing forward, Allan turned around and avoided her attack, and then he pressed his palm toward Pitu's stomach. Ryuudan. That's the energy ball in Allan's hand, the attack that he didn't use since his fight with Hisoka in Heaven's Arena. Pitu was caught off guard, and her body was repelled back at high speed while rotating before she hit a few trees and stopped. Allan knew that even a monster like Pitu wouldn't remain intact with a Ryuudan to the stomach. Sure enough, when Pitu fell down, there was a part of her abdomen that was missing, and blood flowed out like rivers. Okay, let's end this. Allan didn't plan to drag this anymore, and instead, he took advantage of the situation without giving Pitu any chance to heal her injuries. He dashed forward and appeared in front of Pitu in a blink of an eye. Pitu was already prepared and directly jumped forward, launching another attack on Allan. Allan already predicted this with his observation haki and evaded her attack. Try this. Allan raised his hand, and an electric light flickered on his palm with the sound of chirping birds. Chidori. As the Chidori took shape, Allan attacked Pitu without hesitation. Compared to the Ryuudan, Chidori was more of a defense breaker since it has a superior penetration power. The Chidori pierced Pitu's body, and the electric current paralyzed her body. Allan directly kicked Pitu's body away. As she fell to the ground, purple blood surged out of her wounds. It's over. Allan stood in front of Pitu and said coldly. You're really good, meow. Pitu looked at Allan weakly, and she understood now that Allan was far stronger than her. Meow. If I let you go, your existence will threaten the Ant King. So I will never let you harm the Ant King. After saying this, an extremely dark aura covered Pitu's body. Feeling the terrifying aura, Allan instinctively distanced himself from Pitu. At the same time, Pitu stood up and opened her hands as if she was a string puppet. Behind her, a weird demon that looked like a doll appeared. Allan recognized this instantly. It was Pitu's nin ability, Terpsichore. Chapter 213, Killing Pitu. The Terpsichore can make Pitu exert strength speed beyond her body's limit, which is why Allan directly distanced himself away from her and created an ice wall. Of course, the ice wall can't stop Pitu. Allan only intended to slow her down. When Pitu broke the ice wall, Allan had already moved 50 meters above ground with moonwalk. However, Allan's pupil shrank before he could sigh from relief. What? Allan looked down and saw Pitu rushing toward with great speed. Boom! Allan couldn't use armament haki on time and was knocked away by Pitu and fell down like a cannonball. Boom! Allan landed and created a large pit on the ground before he stood up with tattered clothes. Allan's hand broke from the previous attack, but he repaired it by turning it back into ice. Since he has a Logia fruit, he is passively immune to most physical attacks, and even if a body part broke, he could quickly recover. Pitu saw Allan's arm recovering and directly attacked again. Allan, who already experienced Pitu's speed, knew that even with Soru and flash steps, he isn't as fast. Even if he used observation haki, he wouldn't be able to react to her speed on time. It can be said that he is currently suppressed by Pitu, and if he wanted to kill her, it would be impossible with just the Rokushiki, flash steps, and haki. Ice storm. A huge storm engulfed Pitu in the forest like a giant beast, freezing her in place. Allan knew that Pitu wouldn't stay frozen for long, so he prepared his next attack waiting for Pitu to emerge. Crack! As soon as a crack appeared on the ice, Pitu emerged out, but a huge dragon was waiting for her. The dragon opened its jaw and swallowed Pitu in one bite. The dragon moved quickly and slammed his body on a distant mountain, with Pitu inside of it. A loud explosion broke out from the collision, and a huge hole appeared in the mountain. However, when using Terpsichore, Pitu could ignore all injuries since a puppet is manipulating her body. Even if she is in pain or fatigued, she could fight, even after death. As long as the body exists, even if she dies, the strong loyalty to the Ant King would keep her fighting. Allan knew that he had to destroy her body if he wanted to end the fight. Thinking about this, Allan sighed and took out a blue card from the inventory. This card was S-ranked level ninjutsu that Allan previously obtained. Kirin, which can be used once without any condition. Kirin is formed by natural lightning, and its power was devastating. Allan believed that Pitu wouldn't be able to withstand an attack like that. Suddenly, Thunder clouds formed in the sky, and lightning danced inside. Allan pointed his finger at Pitu and said, "Strike!" The already condensed dragon of lightning blasted toward Pitu in 1/1000th of a second. Even if Pitu has extreme speed, in front of the current speed of the lightning, she was hopeless. Boom! Pitu was obliterated along with the mountain. Allan stood in the air while panting from exhaustion. Although he didn't use many techniques, the few he used consumed too much of his stamina. He directly used observation haki to make sure that Pitu died and finally breathed a sigh of relief when he couldn't sense her anymore. Pitu was killed by Kiran, and he further confirmed this by the puddle of purple blood on the ground. Was her entire body destroyed by the Kiran? Seeing the pool of blood, Allan couldn't help sighing. Although he didn't have any grudge against Pitu, she was an enemy of the entire human race, and as a human, he felt an obligation to get rid of the danger she posed. Chapter 214, Reward. Ding! You successfully killed Pitu and received the reward Shinra Tensei. After killing Pitu, the system's voice echoed in Allan's head. Shinra Tensei was different from a shockwave attack. This technique can repel all attacks, and it can be used to attack as well. It is a powerful attack that combines powerful defense and offense. If fully charged, it could destroy a town easily. But it has its shortcomings, and the most obvious is the inability to continuously use it as it needs a period of time to be used again. If it is to flick something small, like a stone around, then the cooldown is negligible. If it is to knock an ordinary person up, it takes 1 second, and so on. The other shortcoming is when encountering something that can't be repelled. When that happens, he will be the one sent away instead. In other words, he needs to judge whether he can repel his target or not before he uses this technique, but Allan was greatly satisfied nonetheless. Now that he killed Pitu, he can be considered to have broken the Ant King's right arm and made the Chimera ants suffer great losses. Allan had no obligation to report to the Hunter Association about what he did. So he will let them handle the rest for now. Fighting Pitu consumed too much of Allan's stamina, and he had to use the only remaining senzu bean to recover. Allan returned to the NGL's embassy to leave the NGL and returned to the outside world after receiving the items he left there. Outside, Kite, Gon, and Killua were sitting under a tree with their eyes closed. When Allan came out, the three of them opened their eyes and greeted him. "Allan!" Gon exclaimed excitedly. Killua was also happy seeing Allan while Kite breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It's great that you're okay." Allan smiled, "Are you all okay?" "Well, we recovered fine." Gon and Killua replied. The two of them were severely injured by Pitu previously, and although Allan saved them, they weren't fully recovered. Now that they rested for a few hours, they are almost completely fine. It was apparent how superior their natural healing factor was. Even Allan was slightly surprised. "By the way, Allan, where is that monster?" After talking for a bit, Kite asked seriously. Allan knew that Kite was wary of Pitu and couldn't help asking. Seeing his serious look, he could tell that this guy probably will have a phobia of cats in the future. If that monster can't be dealt with, it may come out from the NGL, and all humans would suffer. That's why we must deal with it. I have notified the Hunter Association and passed the news about the Chimera ants to Chairman Netero. I believe that President Netero will send someone here in a few days. Hearing this, Allan shrugged and said, "I already dealt with that cat." What? Kite's eyes widened hearing Allan's reply as he couldn't believe this. Killua and Gon weren't surprised because they had witnessed Allan's strength already and knew that he was very strong. Gon said, "Kite, Allan is very strong. It's not strange that he can beat that monster." "Yes, although that monster is quite strong, Allan is more of a monster compared to it," Killua said. Hearing this, Kite took a deep breath and asked, "How did you defeat it? Did you really kill it?" Allan nodded and smiled, "Well, there isn't even a corpse left as it was completely obliterated, so don't worry about it running away and harming humans." Kite stayed silent for a while, he said in relief, "That's great." Allan patted Gon and Killua and said, "Okay, since this matter is solved and there is nothing else to do here, let's leave." Gon and Killua nodded without saying anything. "You leave first, and I want to stay and wait for Chairman Netero." Hearing Kite's words, Allan asked, "Do you still want to go in?" Kite nodded, "I'm a hunter investigating biology. I'm interested in those ants inside the NGL." Hearing this, Allan patted Kite's shoulder and said, "Well, you can stay and wait, Netero and the others. Kite, remember, if you need help, contact us. Gon said. Well, I know, but I don't think I should bother you anymore because Chairman Netero might personally lead this time, and Chairman Netero is more of a monster than the ants, Kite said with confidence, obviously very confident in Netero's strength. Allan smiled, it's undeniable that old man Netero is really good. Oh. Kite looked puzzled at Allan, you also know Chairman Netero? Well, I fought against him before, Allan said. What, you fought against Chairman Netero? Kite asked in surprise. Just for fun, Allan said. Chairman Netero is indeed a martial artist who looks for a strong foe and enjoys a good fight, but only a few can interest him, and only fewer can fight him. Kites implied that Allan is very strong. Since you can defeat a monster like that cat, it means that your fight with Chairman Netero was quite the battle, Kite said. Allan smiled before he remembered something and said, by the way, even though I dealt with Neferpitou, don't take them lightly as there are even stronger monsters there. Neferpitou. Kite thought for a bit, then asked, isn't that the cat monster's name? Allan nodded. Kite then asked, you said that there are stronger monsters. What do you mean? At least 2 monsters on the same level as Neferpitou will be born amongst the ants, and their king will be born soon. The king is even stronger than Neferpitou and will rule all of them, but I can only estimate that he will appear in half a month to a month. Kite's face was gloomy as he asked, are you sure? Allan nodded, yes, but I can't say exactly when it will happen, but be careful of everything. I see. Thank you for your help and advice. Kite said. Allan took Gon and Killua and left after bidding farewell to Kite. The next day, Netero brought 10 Hunter with him to the NGL and met with Kite. Kite explained the Chimera ant accident to Netero in detail and how Allan helped him and solved the cat monster and relied upon Allan's warning about the Ant King. To Kite's surprise, when Netero heard about the king, he seemed excited instead of fearful. Netero directly told Kite that he wanted to fight the Ant King and wouldn't deal with the ants for the time being. To prepare for the fight, Netero took 10 days to prepare and adjust his physical condition to the best state possible. On the other hand, the death of Pitou in the hands of Allan spread like wildfire in the Chimera ants colony. In the end, they could only reorganize themselves and try their best to make the queen produce even stronger ants to fight against humans. Chapter 215, Training. Allan returned to the metropolis without paying attention to the Chimera ants in the NGL. Gon and Killua realized how weak they were compared to a monster like Pitou. Therefore, the two of them took the initiative to ask Allan to train them. Allan agreed without much consideration, which delighted Gon and Killua. Originally, Allan planned to give Gon and Killua a devil fruit each because he already has 3 devil fruits on him right now. The rubber fruit, fleur fruit, and the Zoan 3-headed dog fruit. As long as they eat those fruits, Gon and Killua will become stronger. However, considering Gon and Killua's nin abilities, Allan decided not to give them devil fruits. He decided to help them develop their own nin abilities further. For example, Gon's nin ability is Hajinkan, so Allan suggested that Gon should increase the Hajinkan further. The Hajinkan is divided into 3 parts, the stone, which belongs to the enhancement, the scissor, which is transmutation, and finally, paper, which belongs to emission. Each of those 3 has its own characteristics and strength. The paper is a projectile attack, but it can be easily avoided. The projectile speed and range, along with the power, need improvement. Otherwise, if Gon encounters a flexible enemy, he won't be able to land a hit. Therefore, Allan suggested to Gon that he should increase the paper's speed and power. Gon naturally took this suggestion seriously. However, it wasn't simple for Gon, who is an enhancer, to strengthen an attack that uses emission. The paper is condensed by nin, and when it gets away from his body, it will weaken gradually. Therefore, Gon can't exert 100% of the paper's power. At most, he can exert 80% of that power, and this is pushing it. Under normal circumstances, Gon, who is an enhancer, can only exert 50 to 60% of the paper attack. So, the first thing Gon needs to overcome is mastering the emission type of nin, which isn't an easy task since it requires hard work and great talent. Next is his scissor, which can be used as a weapon to defend or attack. It has a sharp edge that can effectively cut his enemies. The same way as paper, because Gon is an enhancer, he can't use 100% of the scissor attack. Therefore, Gon has to improve his mastery over the transmutation type of nin. When he masters the transmutation, he can even cut steel easily. Finally, the stone, which is an enhancement type attack, so Gon can exert its full power easily. However, even his most powerful attack couldn't even scratch Pitu, which shows that it is still lacking. The main reason is because of the gap in strength between the two, and this gap can't be closed for the current Gon. Therefore, Allan just asked Gon to try raising the stone's power. He set a minimum standard for Gon's stone power, which is creating a deep hole with more than 12 meters radius. If Gon can do this, then even if he was facing someone stronger than him, he can kill him with one well-placed punch. Allan will give Gon a year, and after a year, he will check how much he improved. As for Killua, Allan had nothing to teach him because compared to Gon, Killua has been trained by his family since he was a child and his fighting power is already very high. So, if Killua wanted to improve, he could only improve his Nen ability. Killua is a transmutter, and he developed an ability to turn his Nen into an electric current. Allan believed that even without his guidance, Killua could become stronger with his aptitude. Both Gon and Killua were extremely talented. What they lack are time and experience. If they were given time, they would become extremely strong. Gon returned to Whale Island to train, and Killua returned to the Zaldik family as well. They decided to meet in Heaven's Arena after a year. Therefore, after parting with Gon and Killua, Allan went to Heaven's Arena to have some fun. He believed that he could definitively meet some interesting people and train further. As for training, he is already at the peak of the world, and there is no need for systematic training anymore. Even if he faces the Ant King right now, he is confident that he can kill him. Chapter 216, Extermination Team. Allan missed the Heaven's Arena very much, but at his current level, no one could pose a threat to him. As the most famous battle place, countless martial artists visited it, so it's okay to spend some time here. After several games, Allan won easily every time and no one could stop him. Even floor masters couldn't stand in Allan's win streak. Just as Allan was getting bored, he received a call from Kite, which surprised him since Gon left Kite and he didn't expect the latter to take the initiative to contact him. But thinking about it, Allan could guess that this call had something to do with the Chimera ants. He is probably asking for help, Allan thought. As he picked the phone, Kite explained that Chairman Netero organized an extermination team on the Chimera ants, and all members of the extermination team were professional hunters, and Kite was one of them. As for Chairman Netero, his target is the Chimera ants king. When Netero heard that the Chimera ants king was very strong, he decided to have a one-on-one battle against him. In order to provide an opportunity for Netero to fight the king, the other extermination team members had to contain the king's guards and the other Chimera ants. However, there is a shortage of manpower as most of the hunters didn't obey the summon of the association and not many hunters answered the call of the association. That's why Kite thought of asking Allan for help. Allan didn't immediately agree since it wasn't a profitable job for him. If you are willing to join the extermination team, then you will be a star hunter after the mission is finished. Star hunter. Allan raised his brow slightly. A star hunter has a higher benefit than ordinary hunters in the association and his status is higher. In short, becoming a star hunter is every ordinary hunter's dream in the association. Hearing Kite's words, Allan still didn't agree directly, but suddenly, he heard the system's notification echo in his head. Ding! Make a choice. 1. Accept Kite's request and join the Hunter's extermination team. Reward, 12 Pei Iun Palm style. Allan's eyes shone as he read the name of the reward. Pei Iun Palm was a set of good martial arts used by Buletin Jing-un. This move was erratic, elusive, and powerful. Pei Iun Plam also uses a unique set of movement skills called Cloud Trace Phantom. Although Allan possesses a decent number of skills, he didn't have a set of martial arts. The reward of the Pei Iun Palm style is composed of 12 moves. After thinking for a bit, Allan accepted Kite's request and decided to join the Hunter's extermination team and go to the NGL. 2 days later, Allan arrived at the border of the NGL, and after going through the formalities, he officially entered the NGL. This was Allan's second time here, but he didn't feel any special feelings. If he had something to say, it would be that this place is very beautiful. Soon after entering the NGL, Allan saw Kite, with another 2 people. One of them was a burly man carrying a big pipe. The other was wearing glasses and looked gentle. Those 2 are Nove and Morel Macarnacy from the Hunter Association. We are the members of the extermination team. Allan nodded. Even without Kite's introduction, he knew Nove and Morel. By the way, where's Chairman Netero? Allan asked. Chairman is getting ready before the birth of the Ant King. Kite explained. To be honest, Netero was strong, but Allan knew that he wasn't the Ant King's opponent. Of course, defeating and killing the Ant King is a different matter. Netero should have already placed poor man's rose in his heart. Once he can't defeat the Ant King, Netero will stop his own heart and die together with the Ant King. Poor man's rose had super radiation that even the Ant King can't bear. Allan, how are Gon and Killua? Kite couldn't help asking. Allan simply told Kite that both of them are going through some special training without revealing much. At this moment, Morel said, Allan, I heard that you killed a monster-level chimera ant earlier. Faced with the gazes from Morel and Nove, Allan glanced at Kite, who should have been the one who told them before he shrugged and said, I did, but... I heard that Kite said that the monster you killed is one of the king's guards, right? Morel asked again. Well, as far as I know, it was. Allan nodded. Well, please forgive me, but can you tell us the specifications of this matter? Nove asked in a suspicious tone. What do you mean? Allan asked. Why do you know that there is 3 king's guard? The chimera ants are numbered in the tens of thousands, right? How can you tell how many monsters there are? Isn't it something only they should know? Also, you said there is a king that will be born in the chimera ants, and this king is the most powerful, stronger than even the 3 guards. I want to ask as a human, why do you know so much about the chimera ants? Faced with Nove's questions, Allan shrugged and said, sorry, I can't explain, and I'm too lazy to explain even if I can. Nove didn't expect such an answer from Allan. In the end, he snorted in displeasure at Allan's attitude. Allan, there are 8 members of the extermination team, including both of us. Each 2 forms a team. Morel and Nove are a team, and you're teamed with Gel. Gel? Allan asked a little confused, as he didn't hear this name before. She's a member of 12 Zodiacs, a poison hunter that the chairman invited to join the extermination team. Kite explained. Oh, it turns out she is one of the 12 Zodiacs. Where is she? Allan asked. She is currently, in a village ahead, about 50 kilometers away. I believe with your speed, you will be there in less than an hour. Okay, I will head there first. Allan, our mission is to eliminate all chimera ants, except the Ant King, as the chairman wanted to fight him alone. I hope you won't interfere. Don't worry, I won't interfere. Moreover, the Ant King is very strong. To be honest, even if Chairman Netero was in his prime, it will be difficult for him to beat the king. What do you mean? I have already said everything I want to say, I will go ahead now. After saying this, Allan used flash steps and moved toward the village 50 kilometers away to meet Gel. Chapter 217, Gel from the 12 Zodiacs. Half an hour later, Allan arrived at the village 50 kilometers away. The village wasn't attacked by the chimera ants, because it was in the outskirt of the NGL. From this, we can conclude that the scope of the chimera ants in the NGL was very limited. After entering the village, Allan stopped in front of a few villages and said, I'm here to find Gel. Allan directly said. Oh, it turns out that you're here for Miss Gel, but she isn't here right now. Where did she go? Allan asked. She went east. She said she wanted to take a look at the NGL. The villager replied. Allan nodded, okay, thank you. I heard that ants that can eat people appeared in the NGL, is that true? The villager was obviously referring to the chimera ants. Although he wasn't sure, he heard such a rumor quite a bit recently. Allan didn't want to cause mass panic, but he still didn't hide this fact. Yes, they are called chimera ants, and they already attacked many villages. Hearing this, the villagers became nervous, but Allan reassured them, don't worry, the chimera ants are still deep inside the NGL, and won't come out for the time being. You can leave the country now and go as far as possible. This matter isn't resolved yet, so don't come back until it's over, do you understand? We understand. The villagers started packing up and preparing to leave. After bidding farewell to the villagers, Allan moved toward the NGL. After 2 hours, Allan didn't encounter any chimera ant along the way. That simply meant that the chimera ants were eliminated. Allan used his observation haki and before he traveled 10 more kilometers, and suddenly he felt a strong aura deep inside a cave. This aura didn't belong to chimera ants, but to a human instead. Just after walking 2 meters into the cave, he saw a fierce snakehead attacking him. Allan raised his hand and easily blocked it, before grabbing the snakehead and pulling it forward. At the end of the snakehead, was a black-haired woman, who was dragged out by Allan's pull. When the black-haired woman was dragged out, another snakehead rushed at Allan. Allan grabbed the other snake's head before he noticed that those snake hands were the woman's left and right hands and most likely created by Nan. Allan said indifferently, "You're Miss Gel, right? Don't be impulsive, I'm an ally." With that said, Allan released the snakeheads in his hands. Sure enough, the snakehead changed back into normal hands. The black-haired woman stopped her attacks when she heard Allan's words and looked at Allan carefully. "Kite asked me to meet you," Allan said. "So, you're Allan?" Gel blinked as she continued, "Kite said you've been in the NGL before and wiped out a lot of chimera ant as well, is that true?" "That's right." Allan nodded. "No wonder I didn't see any of those ants after I came in," Gel said. "I think the chimera ants are staying in the depth of the NGL right now," Allan said. "Do you know where they hide?" Gel asked. Allan nodded, "Well, they build a lot of nests deep inside the NGL." "Then let's go over, I haven't seen what they are like yet," Gel said. Allan nodded and walked out of the cave with Gel and said, "Speaking of which, Miss Gel, what did you do in the cave just now?" Hearing this, Gel subconsciously replied, "I'm looking for," before she stopped. Gel quickly shook her head and said, "Forget it, don't ask. It's a personal matter." "Okay then, I won't ask." Allan didn't press on the matter. But looking at Gel, Allan guessed what she was looking for. She probably wanted to go to the bathroom, but there isn't any in the NGL, so she found the cave. She also attacked him as soon as he entered, which is just proven his guess, but Allan didn't embarrass her and just smiled and led the way. Chapter 218, Alligator. The NGL was a big place, and reaching its depth would take some time. When they reached their destination, it was already dark. "Let's find some place to rest, Miss Gel." Allan glanced at the sky and suggested. Gel nodded in response and said, "Okay, I'm a little bit tired after walking for so long." "Then let's find a cave and then eat something," Allan said. Soon, a few kilometers away, Allan found a cave but didn't enter it immediately. "What's wrong?" Gel asked. "There is someone there," Allan whispered. "Humans?" Allan shook his head, "No, it's a monster." Gel was surprised, "You mean chimera ants? Is this a nest of chimera ants?" Allan nodded, "There is more than one ant inside. I think this is where they hide. Like I said before, there are many nests in the NGL." "I see, but how did you know that there are ants inside?" Gel asked curiously. "Just from their presence." "Is that so? You used N. Allan laughed and didn't refute her words. He used observation hacky instead of N. "What should we do now?" Gel asked. Allan smiled and said, "We are here on behalf of the Hunters Association, so our task is to eliminate those. We're heading inside." Gel nodded and glanced at Allan with admiration, "There is only a few professional hunter who is as responsible as you are. Let's go, let's go." Allan raised his head and jumped into the cave first. Gel quickly followed suit and easily entered the cave. As soon as they got in, they found several chimera ants. "Take this." Gel immediately launched her snake hands and solved the ants in the blink of an eye. "Miss Gel is strong indeed." Allan laughed. "I'm a member of the 12 Zodiacs after all. Although I'm not a full-time fighter, I can deal with those easily," Gel said. Allan agreed with her without saying anything. At this time, an angry voice roared, "Despicable humans, you dare break into my territory." Allan looked at the angry chimera ant and judging from its aura, this is a squadron leader level. The division leader himself was a little surprised by seeing humans here because a human would have been eaten before reaching this place. But in the next second, his face was filled with greed as he said, "I'm very hungry, so let me fill my stomach with both of you. Humans are my favorite food." Hearing this, Gel snorted coldly, "It's really ugly, let me deal with it quickly." When she said this, Gel's hands turned into snakes and attacked the squadron leader. The commander is called Alligator because he had an alligator's head and was 2 meters tall. The snakes bit Alligator quickly, but Gel's expression changed slightly, "What?" She saw that the snake's fangs couldn't pierce through the alligator's armor. "His skin is too thick. Gel said. Humph, I'm invulnerable amongst the squadron leaders. A human can't break through my armor. Alligator said proudly. Gel snorted coldly and said, although I can't break through your armor, I can do another kind of attack, right? What are you talking about? Alligator felt something wrong, and in the next second, his face changed. What's wrong with me? What's going on? Alligator was surprised to find the part that was bitten previously was paralyzed. I'm a poison hunter, all of my attacks are highly toxic. You were bitten by my snakes previously, so the poison penetrated your skin and mixed with your blood already. You will feel your body slowly turning numb until your blood completely coagulate. What? Alligator widened his eyes when he heard Gel's words and became angry. What are you talking about? I'm a squadron leader, how can mere poison affect me? A powerful aura radiated from the alligator and used the air pressure to contain the poison. I'm free again, and I don't feel numb anymore. Although this made me use some of my power, I still have enough to kill you too. Damn it, he can still do that, is he a monster? Gel's expression turned serious. She had to admit, the chimera ant in front of her was strong. The poison she used can take down 10 elephants. At this moment, Allan said, Miss Gel, let me deal with this small character. Are you sure? Gel asked. Allan nodded. How dare you say that I'm a small character? Damn it, I will make you regret your words. Allan dodged the alligator's attack, then used Pei Yun Palm. The first attack flows like water and renders the enemy defenseless. The alligator was beaten to the ground, however, his armor was indeed very strong, as Allan couldn't kill him in a second. However, the several palms he threw already crushed the viscera of the alligator. Armament, hardening. On the final blow, Allan directly used haki and punched the alligator's head. Seeing Allan killing the alligator in seconds, Gel looked at him with surprise, and the admiration couldn't be concealed from her face. Chapter 219, Shinra Tensei. After resting for one night inside the cave, Allan and Gel continued to attack other nests. At the same time, Kite, Morel, and the other members of the extermination team acted in a group of 2 each in a different direction. This plan was simple but effective. The chimera ants were trapped and couldn't escape from any direction, destroying many nests and chimera ants. In less than 2 days, more than 4,000 chimera ants were killed and 130 nests were destroyed. The hunters' extermination team was unstoppable as they defeated the chimera ants. After many chimera ants died, the squadron leaders decided to take action and formed a group to fight back. Except for Allan and Gel, the other hunters were facing a crisis. However, fortunately, they are first-rate non-users with rich combat experience. Even so, it was a hard fight, because there are many chimera ants beside the squadron leaders, which are there just to exhaust the hunters and make it easier for the leaders. Therefore, if Kite and the others don't do their best, they will die. As for Alana and Gel, they didn't face any problem at all. With Allan's overwhelming strength, no ant can stop him from moving forward. Allan, I didn't expect you to be so strong at such a young age. After seeing Allan fighting the ants several times, Gel admired him. Haha, I'm not that great, Allan replied modestly. The strong can always attract the admiration of others. Although Gel was one of the 12 zodiacs, she wasn't as strong as Allan. Especially after seeing those squadron leaders, she realized that if she wasn't with Allan, her situation would have been very different. At this moment, Gel's expression changed as she saw an arrow moving quickly toward her. Allan reached out quickly and grabbed the arrow. However, it wasn't an arrow, but a rather hard feather. Where is it? Gel immediately became vigilant but didn't sense anyone close. Above. Allan sneered coldly. In the next second, a large number of feather-like arrows shot down from the air toward Gel and Allan. Allan snorted coldly and waved his hand, creating an ice wall blocking the feathers. It was the first time that Gel saw Allan use the power of the ice fruit and was surprised. This is ice. Yes, this is also one of my abilities. Allan said, I can create ice at will. Amazing. Gel said in admiration. She found that Allan was becoming more and more mysterious and she didn't know how much she still didn't know. 30 meters above them, something black was floating in the air, looking down on them. It looked like a crow and had a pair of large black wings growing from behind it. The feather projectiles are released by their wings. Who is it? Gel asked. A chimera ant, Allan said. There are flying ants, how do we deal with them if they fly away? Jel said with fear. If it wasn't for Allan just now, she would have been hit by the feathers. Thanks, Jel whispered. Don't worry about it. Allan smiled. Abominable humans. This crow was the 5th-ranked squadron leader. It can shoot arrows from the feather on its body, which can be hard to deal with. Allan could tell that this guy was at least stronger than most of the squadron leaders he encountered so far. Humans, don't be proud. The dark crow snorted coldly as it flapped its wings and a large number of feathers rained down on Allan and Jel. In this situation, even Jel wouldn't be able to do anything. However, Allan looked at the feathers with a calm face and said, Shinra Tensei. Allan raised his right hand and aimed at the arrows. The powerful repulsive force made all the feathers fall far away in an instant. What? The dark crow looked dumbfounded. What the matter? My arrows can be deflected. What kind of power does this guy use? The dark crow asked a barrage of questions. Why do you only hide in the air and shoot arrows like a coward? Being provoked by Allan, the dark crow became angry, as he shot straight down toward Allan. Come here. Allan snorted coldly as he raised his palm at the incoming dark crow and said, Shinra Tensei. In the next second, a powerful repulsive force directly collided with the crow, sending him crashing through the forest. No one knew if he lived. Allan sensed the crow's presence with his haki before taking Jel away. Did you kill it? Yes. Allan nodded. Just now, he used Shinra Tensei with 50% power. That power shattered the crow's skull, killing him directly. Where are we going now? Jel asked. The next nest, Allan said. Chapter 220, Shipoff. When Allan took Jel to the next nest, Kite and the others solved their problems one after the other and approached their next nest as well. As for the ants, they realized that their situation is getting dangerous. The humans were more powerful than expected. In order to keep their base from being attacked by humans, the remaining squadron leaders gathered all ants that were scattered everywhere and prepared to go all out against the humans. And the ones leading the attack were the 12 squadron leaders. They also had 36 captain ants, which weren't weak. The number of ants gathered was 1,200. A slender blonde man stood in front of the squadron leaders with eyes filled with arrogance. The slender blonde man was one of the king's guards, Shipoff, known as Poof. Next to Poof stood a muscular man with red skin. His name is Menthuthwiupi, one of the king's guards, known as Yupi. Those two were now the strongest ants besides the king. Have all chimera ants gathered? Poof asked. Yes, all ants are here, and you can deploy them whenever you want. The squadron leader that looked like a penguin replied. He is called Peggy. Although he wasn't as good as the other leaders in terms of strength, his mind worked the best amongst them. So, how many people are we facing on the human side? Poof asked again. As far as we can see, there are 10 people, Peggy replied truthfully. Poof raised his brow and said indifferently, are you sure that there are only 10 people? This. Maybe there are more. Feeling the trace of anger in Poof's words, Peggy hesitated slightly before he replied. Poof snorted coldly and said, trash. You don't even know the exact number of our enemy, you're useless. A cold aura spread out from Poof and filled the cave, making all ants there afraid. This fear came from their hearts and blood as lower-ranked soldiers. Therefore, facing Poof's anger, the ants could only bear it without resisting. So, those humans use strange abilities, right? Poof suppressed his anger and asked. Yes, the ability they use is called Nin. According to our information, those humans who are attacking us are all Nin users. They use their life force to increase their power or defense, which is very difficult to deal with. Peggy replied. Nin, and life force. Poof whispered in a low voice and then thought of something, you should be referring to this, right? As he said this, Poof released his Nin directly. His whole body was wrapped up in a soft membrane as energy covered his body. This energy caused the squadron leaders to kneel and bow their heads. Yes, that's the same energy those humans are using, but Master Poof's aura is stronger. Peggy wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and replied. So, we can determine that the humans are powerful because they have mastered using life force, or Nin, right? Poof guessed. I think that should be the case because, in addition to enhancing strength, life force can be used to form strange skills as well, Peggy said. Well, since humans can use Nen, we, who are far superior to them, should also be able to use it. Poof narrowed his eyes. So, what should we do? Another squadron leader who looked like a leopard asked. His name is Cheeto. Very simple, just master Nen and then attack the humans. Poof said. Then, how do we control our life force? The squadron leader found a way to improve and directly started training Nen. The squadron leader's aura soared inside the nest, while Poof and Yuppie looked at them and released their own Nen. In an instant, both King's Guard's aura surpassed the squadron leader's. After releasing your life force, try manipulating it, focusing it into certain parts, like the hands, feet or eyes. Poof quickly taught the squadron leaders how to manipulate their Nen. Chapter 221, Awakening. Poof called the process awakening. The 12 squadron leaders who awakened were Lial, the lion, Peggy, the penguin, Colt, the birdman, Melioron, the chameleon, octopus, turtle, and so on. It's great, I feel a steady flow of power in my body. With Poof's guidance, the squadron leaders mastered Nen one after the other. They marveled at the constant surge of energy in their bodies. Each showed surprise, excitement, and arrogance for gaining power. Amongst them, there are a few leaders who thought that they are as strong as the King's Guards. However, this naive idea was quickly shattered. When Poof and Yuppie released their aura, they realized that they were far behind. The difference in aura was wide apart. Nen is actually the potential of the body, and you just mastered manipulating that energy in your body. If you want to further improve, you can develop Nen abilities. Poof explained. Master Poof, even though we awakened, those humans can't be underestimated. I hope Master Poof can take action and help us with this. Peggy said. The other leader looked expectantly at Poof. Although I really want to take action, my duty doesn't allow me to leave the Ant King for even a moment. Poof said in an embarrassed tone, but it was apparent that he looked down on the humans. Yes, before the birth of our king, as direct guards, we need to guard the Ants King all the way till his birth, Yuppie added. Seeing the two King's Guards unwilling to take action, the squadron leaders were a little angry. After all, in terms of power, the two of them were in their own leader. At this time, the turtle man stood up and said, last time, even for Neferpitou was killed. Just relying on our meager strength, I'm afraid that we can't do anything to those humans. Before the turtle man could finish his words, Poof appeared in front of him and with a punch, sent him flying away. The other squadron leader was shocked and couldn't react at all. Listen well, if any of you have the same opinion as that turtle, I will kill you all. Poof warned them. The squadron leader didn't refute his words and didn't dare disobey. As one of the King's Guards, Pitou was killed by a human, which means that she is weak and can only blame herself. Poof said. The squadron leader could only accept their words because there is nothing they can do. Okay, we're going back. The king should be born tomorrow at the latest. If you can't deal with the humans by then, you can't run away if the king blames you. After saying this, Poof and Yuppie left. After they left, the remaining squadron leaders were relieved, but soon they turned serious. What should we do now? What else can we do? Of course, kill those humans. But those humans are so strong, can we really deal with them? There is no other way, if we don't go, the King's Guards will execute us. It seems like we can only fight. The squadron leader seemed depressed because they realized that both ways may lead to death. However, what made them afraid of the humans was Pitou's death 10 days ago. Although they didn't participate in the fight that night, the battle between Pitou and the humans was very fierce. They thought that Pitou would surely kill the humans, but in the end, she was killed instead. Since then, they have greatly reduced the range of their activity and didn't dare appear in the territory of the humans. However, 10 days later, which is today, the humans formed a team to exterminate them. Being forced to this point, apart from feeling, they could only fight to the death. As for running away, it was impossible, because if they run away, it would mean that admitted defeat in front of the humans, and they would become deserters and the King's Guards would kill them. So, they could only choose to fight humans. We have an absolute advantage in terms of numbers, and we can defeat them with quantity, said Penguin. Quantity? This method was used before, but it didn't work. The soldier ants are weak, they are no different from cannon fodders. They will be wiped out easily. They can only be used to wear the enemy's strength because only squadron leader can deal with those humans. Colt said. Since there is no good way, we can only adapt to the circumstances," said Melioron. At the same time, on a hillside, 2 kilometers away from the main nest of the ants. "Do you see that? That towering peak in the distance is the main nest of the ants," Allan said while standing on top of a mountain. "Well, although it's far away, I can feel the ominous feeling from that place," Jel said solemnly. "It looks like they are all gathered there, waiting for a showdown with me," Allan said. "What now?" Jel asked. "Before Kite and the others arrive, let me give them a heavy blow first." Hearing this, Jel looked puzzled. "What are you going to do?" "I want to destroy that mountain." Allan laughed. "Destroy the mountain?" Jel couldn't believe this. "Can you even do that?" "Of course, don't underestimate me," Allan said. Seeing Allan's confidence, Jel didn't ask any more and waited to see what he will do. Allan took the Mito, Shusui, from the inventory, then held it with both hands and approached the nest. The entire nest was 1,500 meters tall. It's naturally impossible to destroy it, but Allan could split it apart. With his level 7 swordsmanship, he only needed a full blow to do just that. Allan swung Shusui, and a blue arc of energy rushed toward the mountain. In the next second, the cave in which the squadron leaders resided started shaking and collapsing. "What's happening? We're being attacked. Everyone, hurry up and leave." The powerful energy slash made the entire mountain shake violently and caused the squadron leader to flee. Chapter 222, New Reward. You actually split the mountain apart." Jel was shocked when she saw Allan slash the nest. The destruction caused by a single slash made the entire mountain collapse. Above, in the air, Allan held Shusui like some demon god out to destroy the world. He once again unleashed another slash. The already split mountain was once again hit, and boulders started flying in the air. The Chimera Ants soldiers were wiped out due to this devastating blow. The squadron leaders who originally planned on fighting the humans to death were caught off guard. They were lucky enough to escape the nest in one piece. The first idea that came to their mind was to run away as far as possible. However, they still had one question they couldn't answer: who attacked the nest? What method was used to cause such destruction? Then, they looked at the sky. They saw a man holding a black sword floating leisurely in the air. Seeing Allan and feeling the immense presence he carried, caused them to feel astonished. Such power! Is he the one who destroyed the nest? His aura is more oppressive than Master Poof and Yuppie. Is he the human who killed Master Pitu? Countless questions emerged in the minds of the squadron leader as it was the first time they saw such a powerful aura released from a human. His presence was not weaker than the king's guards, maybe even stronger. Just looking at him from a distance made them think he is invincible. At this time, Allan also noticed the squadron leader on the ground who escaped from the nest. However, he didn't do anything. Because he didn't bother wasting his energy on eliminating those guys. Moreover, he believed the attack just now should alert Kite and the others, who should be here soon. At that time, the squadron leaders would be dealt with. The ones who can make Allan a little bit interested in fighting them were Poof and Yuppie. Of course, there is also the Ant King. Allan wasn't interested in the rest of the Chimera ants. Those squadron leaders released that Allan didn't bother with them. No, it should be he didn't put them in his eyes. This made them very upset, but due to Allan's display of power, they were afraid to make a move and wanted to leave this place quickly. After all, their lives were more important than their pride. So, they directly started running away, but unfortunately, they run into Kite and the others. Therefore, the two sides engaged in a racial fight. While they were fighting, Allan returned to Jel's side. "Allan, you are really strong. You destroyed the main nest and all of the ants gathered there were wiped out. Isn't it better to take advantage of the situation and destroy them?" Regarding Jel's suggestion, Allan waved his hand and smiled. "Although some of them slipped out, I believe Kite and the others will deal with them, so we don't have to make a move." "Okay, what shall we do now?" Jel asked. "Wait here for them to come and then go find where the Ant King is going to be born," Allan said. "Where will he be born?" Jel asked. Allan shrugged. "I don't know, but I'm sure it's not here. If it was, I would have found out." Jel nodded and didn't ask any more. She now knows Allan's strength, so everything is under his control. Allan said what to do, and she will do as he said. "By the way, Allan, do you have a teacher?" Jel asked. No, Allan shook his head as he didn't have a teacher. You don't have a teacher, so how come you're so strong? Gel asked curiously. Maybe I'm talented. Allan smiled, he is not naive enough to tell about his system. Let me ask something else. Gel thought for a while. What is it? Allan asked. Are you single? Gel asked a question that Allan didn't expect. Allan nodded, yes. How old are you? Gel asked again. About 20, Allan replied. Oh, do you want a girlfriend? You want to introduce me to someone? How about I introduce myself? Gel laughed. Introduce yourself. Allan pretended to be surprised. Are you really stupid or are you pretending to be confused? I've already said it, it's so obvious, so what's your reply? Gel asked anxiously. Allan smiled, well before replying, I want to ask, what does Miss Gel like about me? I have taken fancy to all aspects. Gel said straightforwardly. All aspects? Well, you're young, handsome, and most importantly, really strong. Gel said. I think only the last point attracts you, Allan said speechlessly. You can say that I admire strong people, so I hope to find someone strong that can protect me. Gel expressed her inner thoughts about the criteria for choosing a spouse. So, I meet your criteria then. Allan laughed. Well, that's how it is. Gel nodded and waited for Allan to agree. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Become Gel's boyfriend. Reward, slow fruit. 2. Reject Gel and insist on staying single. Reward, 5,000 Nen points. Compared to the Nen points, the slow fruit was better. Moreover, Allan thought that it was about time to stop being single, so he picked the first option. Okay, I will be your boyfriend. Hearing Allan's answer, Gel was very happy and said, then, we will be lovers from now on, so take responsibility and protect me. Of course. Allan smiled. At the same time, Allan received his reward from the system. Chapter 223, Convergence. Allan took out the slow fruit and said, this is for you. What's this? A fruit. Gel looked curiously. Allan smiled slightly, this is not an ordinary fruit, it's called a devil fruit. As the name suggests, there is a devil inside it. As long as you eat it, you can have the same power as that devil. It has the power of a devil. Gel was surprised and hesitated. She believed in Allan, but she didn't hear about something so magical in the world. Is this a product of Nen? No. Where did you get it? I can't answer that. Hearing this, Gel wasn't interested in asking more, but she said, devil fruits should be rare, right? Why are you giving me such a precious thing? Because you're already my girlfriend, this is to show my feelings. Allan smiled. Okay, thank you. Gel took the fruit before eating it. It's so bad. Gel looked disgusted. After swallowing all of the fruit, Gel said with disgust, it's so unpalatable. Allan smiled and said, actually, you only had to take a bite, and throw the rest. What? Get felt like she was teased by Allan and couldn't help hammering his chest with her small fists. Well, do you feel any change? Allan asked. Gel waited for a bit and said, no. Try it, Allan said. How do I try it? Gel asked curiously. Allan smiled slightly, you only need to place your fingers like this and the slow light will emerge from your finger. When a target is hit, he will move slowly within the next 30 seconds. Hearing this and seeing the hand gesture, Gel raised her index finger and said, like this. As soon as she made the gesture, a purple light hit Allan. Allan felt strange energy restricting his body. Stupid. You didn't have to try it on me. Allan was speechless. He was hit with the slow light and he couldn't even speak normally. Ah, sorry. Gel apologized. After 30 seconds, Allan turned to normal, since it could only take effect for 30 seconds. What do you think? Is this ability good? Allan asked. Well, as long as you are hit by the light, you will slow down, it's indeed a powerful ability. Gel looked happy. Thank you, this is such a good gift. As long as you like it, Allan said. By the way, Allan, have you eaten a devil fruit too? Gel asked. Well, I ate one, but the one I ate belongs to another system, it's called the ice fruit, which gave me the ability to use ice at will. Allan stretched his hand and made some ice on his palm. It turns out that you have the power to make ice after eating a devil fruit. I thought it's an inability. Gel said. 2 hours later, Kite arrived at Allan's side. Beside Kite, there is another person. Seeing him, Allan was a little surprised. Mr. Satos, you're the hunter that came with Kite. Long time no see, Allan. Satos looked at Allan for a while then said, I haven't seen you for a while, and you became much stronger, I can't see through you at all. Haha. Allan smiled and asked, Mr. Satos, how come you're here? Satos shrugged and said helplessly, I didn't want to come here, but because the chairman invited me, I had to come and help. I see. Allan nodded. How are the others? Allan asked. They should be here soon because there is a lot of movement from your side just now, the vibration can be felt in a radius of 10 kilometers, so, what did you do? Kite said seriously. It's nothing, I just destroyed the main nest of the ants, Allan said with a relaxed expression. You mean, you destroyed their base? Kite couldn't believe it. That's right, the vibration you felt is the collapse of the nest, Allan said. Hearing this, Kite and Satos couldn't help reevaluate Allan's strength. By the way, does that Ant King still have other guards? Kite asked. It's a pity, they are not here. Allan shook his head. Not here? Kite asked. They should have another hiding place. The place I destroyed is just the main nest on the surface. Allan guessed. Soon after, other members of the extermination team arrived one after the other toward Allan's side. Allan was surprised as he found Menchi and Boera. After everyone had a brief conversation, Morel stood up and said, now that the Chimera ants in the NGL have been wiped out, the king and his 2 guards, as well as the queen, are all that remained. Our next target is the guards, after dealing with him, it will be the Ant King's turn. Then, we can look for them quickly. With our ability, we should be able to find them soon. Allan said. Ever since the group of 10 started their search. Chapter 224, Underground. On the other side, inside an underground cave. Poof and Yuppie looked expectantly at the Chimera ant in front of them. This is the queen, and at this moment, the king was inside the queen's belly. You two, listen up. The name of the king is Miru. He will be born in 3 hours. You must protect this place so he can be born without any trouble. Yes, we swear we'll protect this place. Poof and Yuppie knelt on one knee as they swore. At the same time, on the ground, 100 meters away from the cave, Allan and the other members of the extermination team were trying their best to locate the place where the king's guards were hiding. Strange, have they left the NGL? After searching for a long time, neither Kite nor Morel found any trace of the ants. Allan thought for a bit before he said, it's possible, but I think they shouldn't have left yet. Why do you say that? Kite asked. Because the ants king is probably not born yet, so they probably didn't leave yet. Allan guessed. How can you be sure that the Ant King hasn't been born yet? What if he is already born? From what I know about the Ant King, if he was born, I should have felt his presence, Allan said seriously. Hearing this, Kite nodded. Based on his knowledge about Allan's strength, Allan wasn't just talking. Moreover, if the Ant King is stronger than Pitu, then his aura would be extremely powerful and can't be hidden, so if the Ant King was born, all of them would feel his aura. But, if they are still in this place, why can't we find them? We almost looked over the entire NGL. Did they run away? Morel's apprentice said. Run away? Allan thought of something and his eyes lit up, maybe they aren't on the ground, but underground. Underground? Everyone looked surprised. Do you think they are hiding underground? Morel asked. Well, at present, this is the only possibility, otherwise, we might not be able to find them. What do we do now? Menchi asked. I think we can just look separately, Nove suggested. No, Allan shook his head. Why? No asked. Let's not talk about the Ant King, the guards alone are very strong, if you fight alone, none of you will be able to defeat them. In other words, if we separate, and they found one of us, we will be defeated one by one. Hearing this, Nove said, we are experienced professional hunters, even if we can't beat them, we can always escape. Escape? Allan sneered, I'm afraid that when you see one, you won't even have a choice to escape. No, you might not even have the courage to fight at all. Hearing this, Nove angrily said, "What do you mean? Do I look like a coward to you?" "Yes, you are, what can you do?" Allan sneered. "Bastard!" Nove couldn't bear it and kicked Allan, but the latter easily blocked it. Suddenly, Allan appeared behind Nove and before he could react, he was sent flying. Morel and the other who was relatively close to Nove immediately attacked Allan. The three of them rushed forward, but couldn't touch Allan. The three of them were sent flying almost at the same time and fell to the ground. "You can see this, you guys aren't that strong. Although the king's guards can't kill you instantly, they won't have any problem in beating you. And if you talk about the Ant King, you four will be dead before you know it, because based on speed, the Ant King is faster than me. Do you see how strong your enemy is?" Morel and Nove looked ugly, but they couldn't find any word to refute. They couldn't believe that Allan could defeat them so easily. The power gap was something they didn't expect. At the scene, only the kite who previously saw Allan's power, and Gel weren't surprised. Because the two of them were clear about Allan's power. Gel looked at Allan and said, "Allan, forget it, don't be so mean." As Allan's girlfriend, Gel was on Allan's side. Allan nodded and looked at Kite, Satos, Menchi, and said, "What about you guys?" "We will do what you say," Kite said. Satos didn't comment. Menchi and Boera didn't object. "So, now we start to search for any underground cave and the likes. The Ant King and his guards are likely hiding underground. In addition, while searching, remember to constantly use N and keep your distance to about 40 to 50 meters. Kite and the others nodded their head in agreement and each started using N. Amongst them, Kite's N reached 45 meters, and Sato's reached 20 meters. Menchi and Boera were about 12 meters. As for Nove and Morel, after being defeated by Allan, they were finally convinced by his power and obediently started to search the ground below. Allan left Gel by his side as the two started searching. Allan didn't use N, instead used observation haki and made sure that nothing that can move within 1,000 meters can escape his perception. Chapter 225, Appearance. Inside the NGL, Kite and the other in the extermination team followed Allan's instruction and carefully searched below them for any ants. Everyone kept a distance of 40 to 50 meters to cover a larger area. If one of them had an accident, the others can provide support quickly. At the same time, in a cave 100 meters below the ground. "It's time, my king is finally getting born." The queen looked at her bulging belly in excitement despite the pain she was feeling. It was painful but she was still happy. On the other side, Poof and Yuppie were also waiting excitedly for their king. They firmly believe that as long as the king is born, humans won't have any chance to survive. It's because of this that they didn't mind the subordinates that were sacrificed. They can ignore soldiers' death because as long as the king is here, the Chimera ants won't go extinct. At this moment, Poof and Yuppie were suddenly surprised. "This is the aura of humans," Yu wondered. He raised his head and looked at the top of the cave. Poof nodded, "That's right, that's the aura of humans, right above us on the surface." Both of them felt the aura 100 meters above at the same time. "It seems like our remaining forces were wiped out by them," Yuppie said seriously. "Even those squadron leaders were wiped out. Who knows, maybe they escaped." Poof sneered. He didn't trust the squadron leaders anyway. Poof said, "Now, we're the only two capable of protecting the king and the queen, Yuppie. We are more than enough." Yuppie grinned, "We must let those humans know that they can't compare to our powers." "Yuppie, you're stronger than me, so go up and deal with them first. I will wait here for the king to be born," Poof said. Although those humans won't find the cave underground, it's a matter of time before they do. As the king's guards, their duty was to protect the king and eliminate all threats. Furthermore, being forced into their current circumstances by the human, made them unable to bear with the humiliation anymore. "I will go kill them," Yuppie said with a gloomy face. Poof remembered something and said, "Yuppie, remember to bring their bodies back here so the king can eat them, we mustn't waste nutrition." Yuppie nodded, "Well, I will deal with them and bring them back for the king to enjoy. Everything depends on you. Also, even though your opponents are humans, don't underestimate them. You must take them seriously," Poof reminded. "I know, just wait for my good news." After saying this, a pair of wings surged from Yuppie's back. Yuppie directly flew high toward the surface as fast as he can. At this time, Kite was seriously searching for any trace of ants, while Allan and Gel were on the side. Allan stared at the cliff in front of him and focused his observation haki to take a look. "This is it, they are here," Allan said. "You mean, they are hiding there?" Gel was shocked. Allan nodded. "I already felt their presence, they're below." "What do we do now?" Gel asked. Allan thought for a while and said, "You go tell the others, I will make them come out." "Okay." Gel nodded and left. Allan took out Shisui and slashed downward. A mighty energy slash rushed straight into the abyss. Yuppie, who was rushing up, encountered the flying slash on the way, was directly slashed by it as he was unprepared. Chapter 226, Fight. Allan stared sharply at the abyss in front of him. He just saw a bright light from below. "Did I hit him?" Allan narrowed his eyes, trying to lock into his target. Yuppie, who was hit by the energy slash, fell and couldn't resist its might quickly. But Yuppie's physical strength was immense, so, in the end, he stopped the slash, but despite this, he still received some injuries. Although the injuries were not severe, the mere thought that a human injured him made him furious. "Bastard!" With an angry shout, Yuppie's aura rose sharply as he spread his wings. At the same time, Allan felt the strong aura coming from below and said, "Here he comes." In the next second, a figure rushed up from the abyss and appeared in front of Allan. Allan recognized him at a glance. "Human, was it you who attacked me just now?" Seeing Allan, Yuppie asked immediately. "Yes, it was me," Allan admitted directly. "I'm going to kill you." Yuppie gritted his teeth as he looked at Allan. "Come." Allan hooked his finger in provocation. Ding. Make a choice. 1. Single-handedly kills Yuppie. Reward, Rumble Rumble Fruit. 2. Retreat temporarily and seek support. Reward, Fire Release, Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. Naturally, Allan's choice was the first option. Allan wouldn't retreat facing danger. As for finding support, Allan didn't need them or want to rely on anyone. He is very confident in his strength, and even if the Ant King was his opponent he would face him alone, not to mention Yuppie. Allan looked at Yuppie and said, "Come on, show me what you got." "Damn human, I will kill you." Yuppie fluttered his wings and he swooped down from the air with an angry face, preparing to punch Allan. Armament, hardening. Allan's fist turned black and threw a punch back. The shockwave from the collision was astonishing. "What?" Yuppie's eyes widened. He didn't expect Allan's power to be his equal. "Impossible." Yuppie punched again, and this time he used almost all of his strength. "Bring it on." Allan didn't evade at all, his black fist directly collided with Yuppie's fist. Sparks flew from the collision between their fists. He blocked it again. Yuppie's eyes widened as he couldn't believe what happened. "Impossible, how could a mere human being have such power to even match my strength?" "That's reality." Allan sneered, "The humans you look down upon are far more powerful than you think." "Damn it!" Yuppie couldn't accept that he can't match a human's strength. His aura erupted around him as he launched a fierce attack. Allan sneered and met his attack without fear. The top-level armament haki covered his body, making it seem like steel. No, it was harder than steel. At the foot of the mountain, the other members of the extermination team felt two very powerful aura and couldn't help ask, "What is this aura? And there are two of them, who has such strength?" Nove asked incredulously. Nove didn't feel such a strong power before and it was beyond his imagination. "I'm afraid that even Chairman Netero doesn't have such a strong aura, right?" The power they felt was so strong that it shook his very soul, making him have no courage to face such a foe. Morel calmed down, but cold sweat appeared on his forehead, as he solemnly looked at the top of the mountain and said, "If I guessed correctly, one of those two is a chimera ant, and the other is familiar, and it belongs to Allan." Kite next to him replied, with his eyes looking at the mountain in the distance. Chapter 227, Nan. "What? You said that one of the two auras belongs to Allan. How is that possible? How could he be so strong?" Hearing Kite's words, Nove, who had always been doubting Allan, asked in disbelief. Not only him, even Boera and Menchi were surprised. The reason was simple, they never felt such an amazing aura before. From their perspective, it's impossible for an average person to have such a strong aura. Even if there is one, it should be an old monster, such as Chairman Netero. Allan is only in his early 20s at best, he is too young to have such a strong nen, even if he started training when he was very young. Kite, are you sure that the other aura belongs to Allan and not a chimera ant? Is it possible that it is the Ant King? Morel asked. Kite shook his head, I'm very sure, as I felt Allan's aura before. I can guarantee that one of them is really Allan. If you don't believe me, you can try to feel his aura. You would be able to feel that compared to Allan's aura, the other one is filled with malice. Have you ever felt that kind of aura from a human before? That one is sure from a chimera ant, while the other aura is free of malice, but it's very sharp. That aura belongs to Allan, in other words, Allan is fighting a monster, and it's probably one of the king's guards. Seeing Kite so sure, Nove and Morel had to believe his words. What do we do now? Nove asked as he pushed his glasses. Kite said in a deep voice, of course, we go up and take a look. We have to help if we can, but we may not be able to do anything, since we are facing someone too strong. Go up. Nove hesitated. The others looked gloomy. After all, from the aura they felt, the ant was too strong. There is no doubt that it was a terrifying monster. At this moment, Gel appeared. Allan has found the hiding place of the ants, and he is now fighting against one of the guards. Let's go and help. Yeah. Kite nodded and rushed toward the mountain. Allan saved his life before, so he didn't hesitate at all as he rushed forward to help Allan. Even if he might lose his life, he won't regret it. Satos also followed. Although he wasn't very familiar with Allan, he is a professional hunter. This time he was ordered to come and fight against the ants, so he will not be a coward and flee. In addition to those two, Menchi intended to help. She is a very brave girl and is quite curious by nature. She wanted to know what kind of ants were the king and his guards. Menchi, do you want to go? Menchi's partner, Bolera asked. What's the matter, Bolera, are you scared? Menchi asked Bolera as she saw him shivering. Bolera nodded, this is the first time I felt such a terrifying aura. There are monsters over there, and I don't want to go up. Menchi smiled and said, well, Bolera, you stay here and wait for me then, I want to go up and take a look. Don't Menchi, what if you get hurt? Bolera was worried. Although Menchi was his partner, he always regarded her as his sister, so he didn't want her to be in danger. It's selfish, but you can see that he cares. However, Menchi smiled and said, don't worry, Bolera, I will be fine. Menchi directly started moving to the mountain. Morel took up his big pipe and said, okay, I will go look as well. Then, let me go with you, teacher. Morel's apprentice, Knuckles a Longshoot were ready to follow Morel. Nove, what about you? Morel turned around and asked. Morel, you can go, I won't go. Nove hesitated then replied. As Nove's partner, Morel could tell that Nove was scared at a glance. This is the first time I've seen you so scared, Nove, you really let me down. After saying this, Morel ignored Nove and took Knuckles and Shoot to support Allan. Gel followed after them. Allan was her favorite, and she couldn't leave him. So after everyone left, only Bolera and Nove remained there. The two of them remained here because of fear, but there is a difference. Bolera felt fear from Yuppie's aura that was filled with malice, but Nove was experienced and that shouldn't affect him. Instead, he was afraid of death. He was afraid of being killed. Chapter 228, Monster. On the top of the mountain, the battle continued as Yuppie and Allan exchanged punches. Their battlefield was already in ruins as the ground and the trees were destroyed. Yuppie was getting more and more afraid the more he fought. He didn't expect a human could have so much power that he can compete with him. On the other side, Kite and the others finally arrived. From the distance, they saw Allan fighting against a crimson humanoid monster. Is that the king's guard? He looks weird. Morel sighed when he saw Yuppie. This is amazing. Knuckled and Shoot were shocked by the display of power. Menchi stared at the fight with wide eyes before she said, such a strong monster and its aura is so great as well, but can I really use it to make a delicacy? Morel and the others were speechless after hearing this. Menchi was really too bold. Kite, are you sure that the monster Allan is currently fighting is a king's guard? Satos asked. Well, it should be. The aura and presence are similar to the one I encountered previously, only this one's aura is more ferocious. Kite compared Pitu's aura with Yuppie's. Pitu's aura was vicious, but not violent. Allan's aura felt as sharp as a sword. What do you think? Should we go there and help? Sato's asked. Kite's face was serious as he said, wait, it's not time yet. Hearing this, everyone continued to watch silently. The battle between Allan and Yuppie reached a level that ordinary hunters can't participate. The fists collided again, and this time, Yuppie jumped to a distance and asked, Human, did you kill Neferpitou? After fighting for a while, Yuppie realized that Allan was strong, and recalling that Pitou died against a human, he should be the one who killed her. Well, it's me indeed, Allan admitted without hesitation. Yuppie gritted his teeth, since this guy could kill Pitou, then he is able to kill him as well. In other words, Allan's existence is a threat to the Ant King. If I don't get rid of him here, then the king will be in danger. Yuppie thought about the safety of his king at this time. Damn it, I must kill you, Yuppie said angrily. Allan sneered, as if you could do anything. Small human, don't be arrogant. Witness how powerful I'm. In the next second, Yuppie released Mornan and his aura skyrocketed. The others witnessed this and felt a strong sense of crisis. Allan, do you want help? Kite asked. Allan shook his head and rejected Kite's kindness. You don't need to take action, I will deal with him myself. Hearing Allan's words, Morel said, although you're very strong, that monster obviously hasn't used its full power. You can't deal with it alone. Let us help, if we join hands, we can defeat him. Allan snorted, oh, I already said no, so watch from a distance. Why are you so stubborn? Morel was angry. Morel, don't think about it and let Allan deal with it, Kite said. I believe that he can defeat that monster. I do as well. Gel said. Morel sighed and said, well, since even you said that, then forget it. I want to see how can Allan deal with that monster alone. If he can't do anything, then we can only ask for Chairman Netero's help. While they were talking, Yuppie's body started changing. Chapter 230, / With Shusui in his hand, Allan's aura became as sharp as a sword. This guy. Yuppie raised his face gloomily as he could feel the pressure from Allan. Kite, Morel and the others were surprised as well. What's wrong with that guy? Does he know swordsmanship? It seems like he is a master from the pressure he is releasing. The extermination team became numb to the shocks that Allan brought and could only sigh. They had no way to know that guy's limit. But one thing is for sure, he is stronger than any of them thought he could be. Yuppie, I will kill you quickly with this sword, be prepared. Allan raised Shusui in his hand as he gave Yuppie a warning with a cold expression. Yuppie gave a cold snort to Allan's warning. As a king's guard, Yuppie will never let himself be defeated by a human. You're a mere human, don't get arrogant. Suddenly, Yuppie rushed at Allan. Allan snorted and waved Shusui. A huge deep blue flying slash rushed straight toward Yuppie. Allan used 80% of his power in this slash. Yuppie's eyes widened as he felt the terrifying force behind the slash. If he doesn't avoid it, even with his superior physique, he wouldn't survive. It was too late to avoid though, as the flying slash swallowed Yuppie. He could only place his 6 arms in front of him to resist this slash. Boom! 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 The incredibly powerful slash pushed Yuppie back without stopping. Yuppie roared as he tried to send the flying slash into the sky, and he succeeded. The huge slash bounced straight toward the sky, splitting the clouds on its way. The sky became clear without any clouds all of a sudden. So strong! Morel looked at the clear sky in awe. Such strength isn't something any of them could reach. Just as Yuppie redirected the slash, and before he could take a breath, he saw someone rushing at him. Allan didn't let this opportunity go, as he lifted Shusui in his hand and once again, slashed. What? Yuppie sensed imminent death at this moment, but it was too late to get away. He once again placed his arms in front of him to block Allan's sword. But this time, the light passed through his hands, cutting them directly. Purple blood dripped down on the ground as Yuppie lost his arms. After the successful attack, Allan moved away from his opponent without taking advantage of him. Although he failed to kill Yuppie, he took his hands and caused a serious injury. Yuppie scrunched his face due to the pain as he looked at the sky and roared in anger. Damn you human, how dare you cut my arms off! Glancing at Allan, Yuppie is going berserk right now. His aura erupted like a volcano as he turned into an irrational beast. Come! Allan was afraid and shook his shoulder lightly while holding Shusui. Yuppie's wound stopped bleeding quickly due to his magical beast's blood. Immediately after his bleeding stopped, his body once again changed. Anyone looking at this would get cold feet. Large eyeballs appeared all over his body, granting him 360 degrees vision without a blind spot. This is Yuppie's second change. Chapter 231, Rumble Rumble Fruit. The transformation of Yuppie was simply terrifying in the eyes of the extermination team except for Allan. In Morel's opinion, Yuppie was many times stronger than he was, or anyone here. Even Allan who was fighting didn't seem to be as strong as Yuppie. But that's only when comparing the Nen they had, and even though Allan's Nen was half of Yuppie's, he wasn't afraid at all, because having more Nen doesn't mean being stronger. What's more, Allan is a swordsman with great skills. One sword style, Tiger Slash. Allan waved his sword, and an angry tiger roared. A tiger formed from the sword's energy, fiercely pouncing on Yuppie. Haa! Yuppie shouted angrily and held the tiger with both hands, then smashed it apart. Okay, try this then. One sword style, Wolf's Pack. Allan once again waved his sword, transforming the energy slash into a pack of wolves that surrounded Yuppie. Yuppie's second form was indeed stronger than the first, as normal attacks no longer had any effect on him. It's difficult to break through his defense using flying slashes now. In that case, I can only fight in melee. Allan thought as he instantly appeared in front of Yuppie. Although he was extremely fast, Yuppie could still keep up. Facing Shisui's strike, Yuppie transformed his arm into a double-edged sword and stuck back. However, Allan's swordsmanship was far superior to Yuppie. No, it should be said that Yuppie didn't have any swordsmanship to speak of. So, in terms of swordsmanship, Allan can crush Yuppie easily. Therefore, after a dozen rounds, Allan broke through Yuppie's defense and slashed. Yuppie let out a painful howl as a long wound appeared on the latter's body. In just a few seconds, Allan released a torrent of slashes chopping Yuppie into 100 pieces. In a battle, a moment of negligence can result in defeat and Allan successfully grasped that opportunity. However, Allan didn't stop, because he knew that Yuppie can still recover from that. If he doesn't completely wipe out his body, even if he was chopped into pieces, he can still recover. Allan directly used his ice fruit and froze each piece of Yuppie. With each piece frozen, even if Yuppie can normally recover from his current condition, he won't be able to do anything now. In other words, he is dead, and even the Ant King won't be able to save him. Ding! You successfully defeated Yuppie, and you received your reward, Rumble Rumble Fruit. In the next second, Allan received the Rumble Rumble Fruit. It is a fruit as strong as the ice fruit, which can be said to be a fruit a cut above the rest. The one who eats it will be able to produce lightning and electric current and be immune to physical attacks like any Logia. At the same time, the user can move at lightning speed, and increase the range of observation Haki using an electromagnetic field. The user can even have a glimpse of other people's thoughts. And even after being defeated or killed, anyone with the Rumble Rumble fruit can use the fruit's ability to shock their hearts to come back to life. The power generated by the fruit can even be used to power a spacecraft and robots and various machinery, which is equivalent to an inexhaustible power source. Considering the power of the Rumble Rumble fruit, Allan ate it without hesitation. Although he had the ice fruit, it didn't prevent him from eating another one. Although most people can only take one devil fruit, Allan was confident that he can take another. After eating it, Allan felt his stomach rumble and his body seemed to be torn apart as he felt unbearable pain. In the distance, Kite and the other saw Allan slaying Yuppie and were still surprised, but Allan suddenly fell to the ground in pain. If an ordinary person ate a second devil fruit, his body will have a repulsive effect and at worst his body will explode. Right now, Allan's body was repelling the Rumble Rumble fruit, or more like the ice fruit is trying to purge the Rumble Rumble fruit from Allan's body. If Allan can persist past this, he will be able to use both fruits at the same time. But this requires quite a strong body and unhuman willpower. Chapter 232, Ant King. What do we do? He looks in pain. Seeing Allan falling to the ground in pain, Gel was anxious while the others were worried as well. Allan alone could kill a monster like Yuppie, and his contribution in this event was the greatest. When he is being tortured like this, like his comrades, they felt uncomfortable seeing him like this. If they can, they would rather take the pain themselves. However, Allan wasn't injured as they thought, but it was just the result of his recklessness. No, he passed out, Menchie shouted. He will be fine, right? Knuckles said. Kite looked at Allan and said, it should only be temporary. What do we do now? Menchie asked. Let's take Allan out of here first, Kite said. What about the Ant King? Although a monster is dealt with, the Ant King is still out there. Morel asked a crucial question. For a moment, everyone fell silent. Kite pondered for a while and said, ignore the Ant King, for now, let's take Allan back and talk. But what about the Ant King? If we leave it alone, there will be problems. Knuckles and Shoot said in concern. Kite said seriously, we all saw Allan fighting that monster just now. With our strength, is it possible to fight such a monster? No, we won't stand a chance. Furthermore, the Ant King is stronger than that monster and we are even less likely to be his opponents. The only person who can fight against the king is Allan, who is currently unconscious. If the Ant King finds out about this, do you think we will survive? All we can do is rely on Allan. As for Chairman Netero, he is still getting ready for the fight and can't help. So we can only take Allan away and wait for him to wake up. Hearing this, and after weighing the pros and cons, Morel and the others agreed to Kite's proposal. Morel then said, let's use Nove's four-dimensional mansion to get out of here. Right now, Kite picked Allan and left the mountain along with the others. When they reached the foot of the mountain, they rejoined Nove and Boera. After Morel briefly explained the situation to Nove, the latter opened the four-dimensional mansion and arranged a way out of the NGL. As a result, the extermination team left the NGL one after the other and returned to the outside world. At this time, Poof, the last remaining King's Guard, came to the top of the mountain where Allan and Yuppie fought and saw Yuppie's remain and roared to the sky. My king, you must avenge Patu and Yuppie. Poof returned to the cave waiting for the birth of his king while grieving losing his companions. After a few hours, the king finally emerges from the queen's belly. My king, you're finally coming out. Poof knelt on the ground to salute the Ant King. The king indifferently looked at Poof, who was kneeling, and said in a deep voice, I'm hungry, do you have something to eat? Yes, we prepared a lot of food for my king. With that said, Poof took out a bunch of meatballs. These meatballs were made of human flesh and blood, which is the favorite food of the Chimera ants. However, as soon as the king took a bite, he spat it out. Poof quickly asked, what's wrong, my king? Are they not to your liking? The Ant King replied coldly, although the taste is acceptable, it's not fresh. This subordinate understands. However, your majesty, there is currently no fresh food. All humans escaped or were killed by us. Poof explained. Then, leave this place and go where there are humans. The Ant King's voice was cold as he said with an unquestionable tone. Poof immediately replied, my king, your subordinate will take you out to where the humans live. Let go then. The Ant King said. By the way, your majesty, what about the queen? Don't worry about her, she is useless now, let her fend for herself. This. Although Poof felt that the king was a bit cruel, he couldn't refute his words. At this moment, Poof could only say goodbye to the queen and bring the king out. They moved toward the closest human settlement in the area. Although the extermination team left, their traces remained. It seems some powerful guys have come here. The Ant King said seriously. Yes, we originally occupied this entire place and used the villages as food. However, one day, a group of powerful humans came and wiped out a large number of us and even destroyed our base. In the end, only your majesty and your loyal guard were left. The others were all killed. Poof said with grief. The Ant King stayed silent after hearing this. Chapter 233, Boundary. A day later, Poof was flying away from the NGL along with his king. They crossed the borders and came to a close human settlement. Rosario was a small country bordering the NGL with a population of 5 million. Poof said, my king, the area ahead is full of humans, should we go down? The Ant King thought for a bit then said, let's just go to the leader of this place directly, I will create a base here, and the first thing we should do is destroy their commander. Yes. Poof replied. After half an hour, they arrived at the capital and lanced outside the palace. Who are you? The guards patrolling the palace soon discovered the strange creatures. From outside, Poof looked almost human except for his wings. But the king was different, he looked nothing like a human. Stop for me, if you don't, we will shoot. Facing the guards' warning, Poof and the Ant King continued forward as if they heard nothing. Fire! The captain gave orders and the other guards immediately pulled the trigger. One after the other, they launched a fierce attack on Poof and the Ant King. Ordinary people would have turned into sieves with the number of bullets shot, but Poof and the Ant King didn't mind the bullets since they did nothing. Is this the power of the humans' technology? It's not that good. That's because you're strong, my king. If others were hit, they would have died. Poof flattered. In an instant, the guards died under the king's hand. My king, they are all fresh meat. No, I feel that there is a stronger life energy in the palace, that's what I need. After saying this, the Ant King walked into the palace. Poof could guess that the people with a stronger life force that the king was talking about were the non-users. On the way to the palace, the guards were eliminated one after the other by the king. They couldn't even hinder him for a second. When they reached their destination, a strong man appeared in front of them. You dare come here and cause a ruckus, you're looking for death. My king, this guy's life energy is strong. I can see that. The Ant King said. The man was the strongest bodyguard in the palace. Bring it on! The man shouted as he punched the Ant King. However, his fist was easily blocked by the Ant King. Too weak. The king swept his tail and cut off the man's hand before he ate it. After eating the hand, his strength increased. It was the king's innate ability. He gets stronger when eating life energy. After the Ant King finished his meal, he killed the leader of the country. On the other hand, Poof was busy preparing food for his king, which consisted of 50 people each day. 10 days passed after that. The Ant King was getting stronger day by day due to his ability. Poof, beside you, what happened to the other guards? The Ant King suddenly asked. My king, the queen made a total of 3 guards, besides me, there are another 2 called Neferpitu and Menthuthweopi. However, the humans killed them before my king was born. How strong were they? Stronger than me. My specialty isn't fighting, but supporting. 2 guards stronger than you were killed by the humans. Yes. Are the humans so strong? These days, the Ant King saw many humans, but there is no one of them that was strong. Faced with the king's doubt, Poof explained, amongst the humans, there is a special kind called non-users. They have strong life energy and various abilities. The guy who killed Neferpitu and Menthuthweopi was very strong and most likely, the same person killed both. Hearing this, the king started thinking, and after a while, he said, I really want to fight against that human. I want to see how strong this human is. My king, I guess he will come here when he knows we are here. Why are you so sure? The Ant King asked. Because humans are repulsive to the Chimera ants, they don't want other creatures to appear on their land, so they want to destroy us. Poof said. So that's the case, the same with us, as we want to wipe them out when we see them. So, my king, do I let the outside world know we are here? Poof asked. No, they will find us sooner or later anyway. When they come, I will eat them all, said the Ant King. The Ant King suddenly remembered something and asked, beside the guards, are there other Chimera ants? Basically, when we were in the NGL, the humans wiped the others out. Most of the rest should have escaped. Poof guessed. We don't have enough manpower now. If we can, we will find those who escaped, said the Ant King. My king, since they ran away in the first place, it means they aren't trustful and fear death. Do we need to find those guys? Poof asked. After all, we are short of manpower now, and the queen is useless, we can only find those former subordinates, said the Ant King. Well, then, I will go look for them, my king. If they won't come back and defy your orders, I will kill them. Poof said. Well, go then. I will be waiting for your good news here. The Ant King said. Chapter 234, The Power of the Rumble Fruit. In the headquarters of the Hunter Association, after half a month in a coma, Allan finally woke up. Where am I? Looking at the unfamiliar room he was in, Allan scratched his head in confusion. You're in the headquarters of the Hunter Association. Kite, who was beside Allan's bed, said. Why am I here? Allan asked. Did you forget? Kite said. Allan thought for a while before recalling that he ate the rumble fruit and felt pain all over his body before everything went black. How long was I unconscious? Allan asked. Half a month. Kite replied. So long. Allan was taken aback. He didn't think it would take so much time. How are you feeling right now? Kite inquired. Don't worry, I'm totally fine. Allan laughed. He didn't lie as he felt that his body wasn't abnormal. Not only that, but he felt the power of the rumble fruit as well. It seems that after half a month, my body finally merged with the rumble fruit. Now, I should be able to use both fruits. Allan guessed. By the way, what's the current situation of the Chimera ants? Allan asked. Since you blacked out, we retreated from the NGL, and it's been half a month since we were there. Kite explained. Is that so? Allan frowned. However, although we didn't go back, the vice-chairman, Pariston, sent an investigation team to the NGL a week ago, Kite said. How's the situation? Allan asked curiously. According to the investigation team, there are no traces of the Chimera ants in the NGL, Kite said. What about the Ant King? Allan frowned. The king probably left the NGL and went somewhere else, Kite said gloomily. Hearing this, Allan started thinking before he asked, where do you think the Ant King will go? I think he will go to a place with a few people, Kite said. That's not totally true, Allan said. What do you mean? Kite was puzzled. Allan explained, the king will probably go to a place where there are many humans because Chimera ants like to eat humans the most, which means the king will be in a place where there are many humans. Furthermore, the Ant King was just born, and all of his subordinates are wiped out, so he won't go somewhere where there are many people or he would risk being discovered by us. Hearing this, Kite said, in other words, the king will go somewhere with a few humans and relatively closed on itself, right? Allan nodded, well, it should be. If we follow this clue, we should be able to find his whereabouts right now, Kite said. Then hurry up and organize a team to investigate. If we don't find the Ant King quickly, he will get stronger and it will be troublesome, Allan said. He knew about the king's ability to grow stronger the more he ate. If they don't find him quickly, even Allan won't be able to deal with him. As for Chairman Netero, Allan who've seen the original story knew that Netero wasn't the Ant King's opponent. If Netero uses the poor man's rose and brings the Ant King with him, it would be impossible to kill him at that time. By the way, what about the chairman? Allan asked. He has been in seclusion somewhere, he is also waiting for the news about the Ant King, Kite said. Well, I'll talk to him when I have time, Allan said. Okay, you stay here, for the time being, I will organize a new investigation team as soon as possible and try to find the Ant King's whereabout within 10 days, Kite said. No, 10 days is too long, we should find him in 5 days at most, the sooner the better, Allan said. Okay, I understand. After finishing their conversation, Kite left. Allan sighed and walked out of the room. Allan arrived at a forest beside the Hunter Association's building as he wanted to try the power of the rumble fruit. Allan raised his hand and pointed at a tree in the distance. Lightning! In the next second, a lightning bolt struck the tree down from the sky, splitting it in half. Too strong, worthy of one of the strongest Logia fruits. Allan once again raised his hand and pointed at the sky. 100 million volt Vari. A thundercloud appeared in the sky and in the next second, a huge lightning bolt struck down, smashing the ground and messing the forest up. The loud thunder reverberated all the way to the Hunter Association a few kilometers away. Let's try the ice fruit now. Allan put his hand on the ground and in an instant, the ground froze and the temperature dropped below zero. With 2 of the strongest Logia fruit, Allan's power reached a new height. After testing his power, Allan said, with this power, there shouldn't be any problem when I face the Ant King. After all, no matter how powerful his body is, it can't defend against lightning. As for speed, the speed of lightning should be faster than the Ant King. Unless the Ant King is as fast as light, he can't be faster than Allan. Of course, Allan wasn't proficient with his new power, so it will take a while to completely adapt. On the other side, Poof left the king's side by his order to look for the scattered Chimera ants. He used his power to disperse into hundreds of copies and scattered in all directions. The effort paid off as it found one of the squadron leaders enjoying his life in a village. The one he found is Cheeto, the leopard who refused Poof's proposal to go and assist the Ant King. Give up, I finally escaped the NGL, how could I go back there? If I go, I will be killed by those humans, you don't know how terrible they are. Cheeto said. Then, you're not afraid of the Ant King's punishment? Poof asked. I'm not afraid, the Ant King is not here, moreover, even if he was, I'm not afraid of him, Cheeto replied. If you don't go back, I will kill you here. Poof threatened. You don't have the ability, you're only a clone, it's impossible to kill me with a clone, Cheeto said arrogantly without fear. You are underestimating me. Poof snorted coldly. I'm too lazy to fight you, you can go if you have the ability, then catch me. If you catch me, I will go back and help the Ant King. Seeing that Poof was going to attack, Cheeto said. Well, keep your words then. Poof said. Come then, try and catch me. Cheeto was confident in his speed. He didn't believe that Poof will be able to catch him. However, this time, he made a mistake, as Poof was actually faster than him. After running for a day and night, Cheeto finally lost and Poof caught him. Damn it, that guy is persistent, Cheeto said in disbelief. Humph, for the sake of the Ant King, I don't have a problem in lying my life, let alone outperform you. Poof said. In fact, Poof tried his best, he ran after Cheeto with all of his power to catch him. According to our agreement, you have to go back with me and help the Ant King. Poof said. Okay, I'll go back with you. I'm really unlucky. Cheeto sighed. Humph, don't spout nonsense, let's go. Poof wanted to return to the Ant King as soon as possible. Cheeto said, after I go back, the Ant King won't kill me? After all, I'm a deserter. No, the Ant King is short on manpower right now, so he won't kill you. Poof said. Okay then. Cheeto sighed in relief. By the way, other than me, who else is there? Cheeto asked. I'm looking for the others now. Poof said. Chapter 235, Small Bear. Somewhere in the south, in a country well known for the many tourists it has, a small number of people came here through smuggling or other illegal means. Is that a koala? So cute, that koala is so cute. In a part, a koala was standing on its feet, and dressed like a gentleman, wearing a suit with a tie and a hat. Many tourists gather around as they took pictures of the koala with their phones. The koala who was being watched by the tourists didn't seem disgusted by the humans. Suddenly, the koala's stomach made a sound and he said, I'm hungry. The onlookers suddenly let a huh as they looked at the koala in surprise. Wow, it actually spoke. I heard it as well, he said he was hungry. It's so interesting, it can even speak our language, is this really a koala? Isn't he a human dressing like one? The tourists were surprised by the talking koala. To be precise, I'm not a koala, because I have human genes as well. The koala explained. All tourists who heard this were amazed. Could it be that some lab experimented on the koala? Did they combine the human gene with the koala which resulted in this? One of the tourists said. That's an interesting speculation, but I wasn't made by a scientist, but I'm a creature who lives in this world like you, just a different race, koala replied. Where did you come from? A male tourist asked curiously. The koala stayed silent as he gave his answer a thought. But he didn't reply in the end, he is a chimera ant, from the NGL. Since the nest was destroyed, it left the NGL. Then after some time, he came to this place. Do you have a name? A female tourist asked. A name, the koala thought for a while then replied, everyone calls me Small Bear. Small Bear, a simple and straightforward name. The tourists quickly accepted the name. A female tourist asked, Small Bear, are you hungry? Yes, I'm hungry. Small Bear nodded, since leaving the NGL, he didn't eat anything. The main diet of the chimera ants were the humans, and since they ate too many humans in the NGL, the Hunter Association found about it and their base was destroyed in the end. After escaping from the NGL, Small Bear didn't target the humans. Small Bear wasn't like the other ants, his IQ was as high as a human, so it knew that there must be other food for it. So, he tried to integrate into this place and abandoned his identity as a chimera ant. Small Bear, here is some bread, you can eat it. Thank you, beautiful lady. Took the bread from the female and ate it with relish. When the tourists saw this, they found it interesting and started giving Small Bear more food. For example, they gave him milk, fruits, sweets, and even sausages. Small Bear harvesting a lot of food, although it was the first time he ate them, and they weren't suitable for his taste, he didn't refuse the tourists' kindness. At the start, the food wasn't to his liking, but after some time, he adapted. Snacks are really delicious, for example, the bread with mild is very good. There are also the chocolates, which are sweet and delicious. Small Bear sighed. Small Bear, I finally found you. After leaving the park, Small Bear encountered someone unexpected. It was Poof. Master Poof, what can I do for you? Small Bear was surprised, but he still asked calmly. Small Bear, the Ant King is born, now the king needs manpower, so you come back with me to assist the king, Poof said directly. He didn't want to waste his king's time after all. Chapter 236, Uninvited Guests. Hearing this, Small Bear said seriously, Master Poof, please allow me to refuse your request. I don't want to go back and assist the Ant King. What are you talking about? Poof could hardly believe what he was hearing. Amongst the squadron leaders, I know you are very loyal, now you actually rejected me. This is the king's order, aren't you afraid of the king's punishment? If the Ant King is going to kill me, I will not run away. Small Bear said. Aren't you afraid of death? Poof asked. I'm afraid of death. Small Bear continued, but I feel free right now, I don't want to go back and kill many people, those days are in the past. Poof said angrily, are you serious? Yes, I have decided to let go of my identity as a chimera ant. Small Bear said indifferently. You want to abandon your identity? Poof's eyes widened. Master Poof, I decided to live peacefully in this world. Small Bear said seriously. That's why I need to abandon my identity as a chimera ant and join a human family. You traitor! Poof gritted his teeth angrily. He didn't expect that one of the most loyal subordinates would actually abandon their race. Whatever you say, I have decided to integrate with the human society, and I will never kill people again, let alone feed on humans. Small Bear said firmly. Bastard! You traitor! Poof wanted to kill Small Bear, but he split many times and this clone wasn't strong enough to kill him. He could only let Small Bear go temporarily as he shouted, wait until the king rule the world and you will feel stupid for today's choice. Small Bear stared at Poof moving away and sighed. Although he completely offended the Ant King and Poof, he didn't regret it. Because after coming to the human world, he realized that he longed for such a peaceful life. This may be related to the human gene he had or the memories of being human. In an elegant restaurant, 3 uninvited guests were eating. The leader of this small group was a guy that looked like a lion. He is one of the squadron leaders of the chimera ants, his name is Leol. After escaping from the NGL, he came here and changed his name to Leo. The other 2 with him were his loyal subordinates, they were the army commanders amongst the chimera ants. After leaving the NGL, the 3 of them came here, but they didn't cause trouble since they didn't want the attention. So, for the time being, they constrained their animosity toward the humans and integrated into their society. Their original food source was the humans, but they were trying the food made by the humans. When they tasted the food made by the humans, they couldn't help feeling that it was really delicious. Especially the grilled meat, they quite liked it. They liked it even more than humans. The whole restaurant was dumbfounded by the amount the 3 of them ate. Master Leo, I'm so full, Hina said with a hiccup. Well, the food made by the humans is indeed very good, I'm very satisfied, Leol said. Master Leo, let's go, these humans seem very surprised that we ate so much. Being watched is unpleasant. The 3rd ant, the dragonfly man, said. Well, let's go somewhere else, Leo said. If they were in the NGL, they would have killed these humans a long time ago, but because it was the territory of the humans, they didn't dare do anything. However, when the 3 of them were about to walk out, the manager stopped them. Wait, the 3 of you, you've eaten so much and haven't paid yet. Pay? Leo had a big question mark above his head. Chapter 237, Command. Master Leo, I heard that you need to pay to eat in the humans' society, otherwise, you will be regarded as stealing food and will be arrested. I see. Leo nodded as if he realized something. Then, Master Leo, are we going to pay them? Hina asked. Idiot, where will we find the money? Besides, do we need to pay humans for a meal? Leol said angrily. The restaurant manager's face became gloomy. Your meal amount to a total of 1.03 million jenny, you literally wiped the restaurant clean. So are you going to pay with cash or credit card? I don't have any money, so let us go or I will kill you. Leol threatened. However, the restaurant manager didn't fear Leol and coldly snorted, you want to dine and dash, it won't be easy, Guards, catch the 3 of them. Several security guards rushed forward to catch the 3 of them. You're looking to die. Liao angrily roared as he raised his claws and knocked out all the guards in one move. The manager was shocked by this. You want to escape? It's not that easy. Liao sneered and grabbed the manager, then he threw him 10 meters up only to fall to his death. Let's go, I don't think that there are other fools who will block our way. After resolving the trouble, Liao waved his hand and left with Hina and the dragonfly ant. Master Liao, this is the territory of the humans, let's leave quickly, otherwise, we will be hunted by them. As they went out of the restaurant, the dragonfly ant suggested. Liao nodded, that makes sense, let's go then. At this moment, someone blocked the way of the 3. You are, Master Poof. Seeing the one blocking their way, Liao was surprised. Yes, that's me, Poof confirmed. Why did you become so small? Liao asked. Poof was less than 10 centimeters in size. This is just one of my clones. Poof said. This is one of Poof's abilities, he can split his body into countless smaller parts. Each one can move freely, but the overall strength is too weak. So, Master Poof, what can I do for you? Liao said respectfully since the other party was higher ranked than him. The Ant King was born, and now we are short on manpower, so I need you to go back and assist our king. Poof said straight to the point. Liao didn't immediately agree when he heard this. Poof noticed this and said, don't think about it, you can't live in the territory of the humans just because of your appearance. Before long, you will be discovered by them and they will hunt you down. The Ant King is very strong, and he will surely lead us to rule the world. Liao pondered for a while before he nodded, okay, I will go back with you, but I have one condition. What condition? Poof asked with a frown. The other party dared to lay terms for his return, if it wasn't for the lack of manpower, he wouldn't bother talking things out with him. It's very simple, we want to be free, and not listen to anyone's command except for the Ant King's, Liao said. Poof thought for a while then nodded, okay, as long as you obey the king, there is no problem at all. Poof directly led Liao and his subordinates to the Ant King. Poof's clones convinced several squadron leaders and captains to return and serve the Ant King. In less than 10 days, Poof found 4 squadron leaders and 6 captains. Although the king looked at the other ants in disdain, he didn't punish them for running away, because there are only a few of them right now. Therefore, the king gave Poof another order, which is to find the queen they abandoned before in the NGL and bring her back to produce more chimera ants. The king gave the 4 squadron leaders and 6 captains orders to bring all the people of this place to him. On the other side, Kite sent an investigation team to find the Ant King. Chapter 238, Promotion. 2 days later, Allan was invited by Beans, the personal secretary of Netero, to the Hunter Association and met Netero there. This is the second time Allan was invited by Netero, the first time was when he took his hunter license and became a professional hunter. That was the time when Allan fought against Netero. After entering Netero's office, Beans said, Mr. Allan, the chairman is having a meeting with the 12 zodiacs, please wait here for a while. Allan nodded and sat casually, with his legs crossed. With his current power, only a few people can match him, even in the Hunter Association. He is willingly waiting because he respected Netero, nothing else. Mr. Allan, do you want a drink? Coffee, juice? Beans asked. Juice, Allan said. Okay, please wait a moment. Beans went to pour a cup of juice to Allan while the latter stood up and went beside Netero's desk as he was curious about what kind of work the chairman had. Allan opened the desk drawer and flipped through it, and a picture caught his eyes. It was a picture of a middle-aged man with a woman. It looked very ordinary. But he felt something familiar in the photo. The man in the picture was Netero himself, and Allan could guess that the woman was either Netero's wife or close friend. In short, it was someone who has a close relationship with Netero. As a transmigrator, Allan naturally knew that Netero had an illegitimate child who isn't known in public. Allan boldly guessed that Netero's child, beyond Netero, is also the child of that woman. After a while, Allan put the picture back and returned to the sofa. At this time, Beans returned and said, Mr. Allan, here is your juice. Thanks. Allan waited another 10 minutes and finally, Netero finished his meeting with the 12 zodiacs. Allan, sorry for making you wait for so long. Netero apologized. If you were a little bit later, I would have left, Allan said. Netero smiled, do you know why I invited you? Allan shrugged, isn't this about killing the chimera ants? Yes. Netero nodded. Except, the few fishes that slipped through the net, such as the Ant King, all the chimera ants were wiped out, Allan said. Yes, thank you, I invited you here today to thank you in person as the chairman of the Hunter Association, Netero explained. According to the report submitted by Kite, Morel, and the others, Netero learned that Allan performed the best out of the extermination team and almost wiped all the chimera ants. Oh? Thank me? It's not a verbal thanks, is it? Are there any prizes? Allan asked with interest. Netero smiled, of course there are prizes. Oh, what is it? Allan asked. Netero said, you contributed the most in the extermination team and for that, I decided that you will be promoted to a 2-star extermination hunter. Extermination hunter. Allan froze for a moment as he didn't expect this kind of reward. Netero took a medal with the insignia of the Hunter Association along with 2 shiny stars in it. The 2 stars represent the honor of being a 2-star hunter. Allan directly wore the medal without any hesitation. He jumped from an ordinary hunter to a 2-star hunter in one mission. The top in the Hunter Association was triple stars hunter and only 3 were known. Although a 2 stars hunter isn't as good as a triple one, it is already great to receive such a reward in one mission. At your age, you are the youngest 2-star hunter since the founding of the association, Netero said. The youngest 2-star hunter. Allan smiled. With your potential, there is a chance that you will be a triple-star hunter in the future. Netero looked at Allan with appreciation. So, if I kill the Ant King, and destroy the chimera ants, can I become a triple-star hunter? Allan asked. Well, in theory, yes, but in reality, it's very difficult to achieve, Netero said. Anyway, there is a chance, right? Allan asked. Netero nodded, well if you can kill the Ant King, of course, your contribution will be great and will make you eligible to become a triple-star hunter. That's fine then, I will give you a hand and deal with the Ant King then, Allan promised. Netero facepalmed and said, I will deal with the Ant King myself, that's why I've been preparing for more than a month now. Chapter 239, Netero. Allan had naturally heard about Netero's challenge to the Ant King, however, when Netero said it himself, Allan couldn't help wiping his forehead with a smile. What's wrong? Seeing Allan smile, Netero asked in confusion. Chairman, do you really want to challenge the Ant King alone? Allan asked. Netero didn't deny it and nodded, this old man did have such a thought. For that, I've been preparing myself for the past month. Even though I didn't regain 100% of my power, I'm about 80% now. Allan said, in other words, Chairman is confident in his own power, right? It shouldn't be a problem to defeat the Ant King. Netero said. After a moment of silence, Allan said, Chairman, there is something I don't know if I should say or not. Speak, don't hold back, Netero said. Actually, I think you can't defeat the Ant King by yourself, Chairman, Allan said. Hearing this, Netero stayed silent for a bit then said, interesting, maybe you're right. Well, Chairman, can I trouble you to release your nin and show me? Allan said seriously. Okay, I will show you. With that, Netero released his nin. At the start, it was slowly gushing out, but in the end, his nin seemed to turn solid. Allan could feel the amazing life energy emanating from Netero's body, just like a towering tree that withstood all natural disasters. How is it? Netero asked. Chairman, your nin is quite strong and it seems tempered thousands of times, but... When Allan said but, Netero immediately asked, but what? Compared to the Ant King, Chairman's nin is way weaker, Allan said his thoughts. Hearing this, Netero thought for a bit then looked at Allan and asked, have you met the Ant King? Never seen him. Then why are you so sure that the Ant King is stronger than me? Netero was confused. It's probably my instinct. Allan could only say this. Instinct. Netero was taken aback for a moment, as he didn't think Allan would say that. Obviously, Netero didn't believe this but seeing Allan not saying anything else, he didn't ask further. After a bit, Netero said, even if I can't beat the Ant King, I still have the 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, you've seen it before. Allan said, the 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva is strong, but it won't work against the Ant King. As a transmigrator, Allan has seen Netero's fight against the Ant King. The defense of the Ant King's body was too strong for Netero to penetrate. Even Netero's 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva can't cause much damage to the Ant King. That's why he was sure that Netero won't be able to defeat the Ant King. Netero said, "This old man is quite confident in his 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva. If even the 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva can't beat the Ant King, then the entire human race will be threatened. So, suppose if Chairman can't defeat the Ant King and was defeated by him, what will you do?" Allan pointed at the core of the problem. Netero stayed silent for a moment and sighed, "We can only die together then." "Die together? Well, we will use the power technology," Netero explained. "Technology? Do you mean poor man's rose?" Allan asked. "Oh? You actually know about it?" Netero glanced at Allan in surprise. Allan gave him more mysteries the longer they spoke. Allan smiled slightly, "I know a little about the poor man's rose. It is said to be a very powerful weapon and its effective range is tens of kilometers with strong radiations. Once someone is affected, they can't live for long." Hearing this, Netero was surprised, "You actually know so much about it. So, Chairman, do you plan on bringing the poor man's rose to fight the Ant King?" Allan asked. "Well, if I can't defeat him, I can only use it, or else, the entire human race will be in danger," Netero said with a righteous expression. "The chairman is indeed noble." Allan admired. "Do you think the poor man's rose can kill the Ant King?" Netero suddenly asked. "Well, of course, no matter how strong the Ant King is, it's impossible for him to be immune to the toxicity of the bomb. Once he is affected, his fate will be death by the radiations." Netero nodded seriously, "Well, the poor man's rose is very scary. If it wasn't necessary, I would prefer not to use it. But after listening to you, it seems necessary." Chapter 240, The Battle of the Strong. Seeing Netero was taking the risk in bringing the poor man's rose, Allan said, "Chairman, I suggest that don't bring the poor man's rose." "Why?" Netero was puzzled. "Because you will surely die using it," Allan said with a serious face. Netero stroked his goatee and laughed, since I decided to single-handedly challenge the Ant King, I was prepared to die. It's my lifelong wish to fight against someone that strong. If I really can't beat him, I can only rely on the poor man's rose." "Chairman, I have a suggestion," Allan said. "Please speak," Netero said. "At that time, if Kite and the other find the Ant King's position, allow me to walk with you," Allan said. Netero hesitated for a bit. After all, he decided to face the Ant King alone. Seeing Netero's expression, Allan said, "In case that Chairman can't defeat the Ant King, then I will face him. Chairman doesn't need to use the poor man's rose and die with the Ant King, I will deal with him myself if that happens." Hearing this, Netero looked at Allan for a bit then said, "I know you're strong, Allan, but do you think you're strong than me? If even I can't defeat the Ant King, I'm afraid you won't be able to do it as well." Allan shrugged and smiled, "I think that currently, I'm stronger than the current chairman." "Oh? Really?" Seeing Allan's confidence, Netero couldn't ignore Allan's words. "Since you think you surpassed me, how about we have a spar? Let's see who is stronger." Hearing Netero's suggestion, Allan was about to respond, but the system interrupted him. Ding! Make a choice. 1. Refuse Netero's challenge. Reward, 3000 Nen. 2. Accept Netero's challenge and defeat him. Reward, Mito, one of the 12 supreme grade swords, Yoru. The Black Blade Yoru? Allan's eyes lit up, he instantly picked the second option and immediately agreed to Netero's challenge. This is one of the 12 supreme swords we're talking about, and it is a sword wielded by the strongest swordsman in One Piece. It's in a different league compared to Shusui. If he get this sword and with his swordsmanship, he wouldn't be weaker than Mihawk himself. And if he used that sword to deal with the Ant King, no matter how strong the latter's body was, it can't ignore the damage from Yoru. Allan stopped his train of thoughts and said to Netero, "Chairman, let's go, I will definitively defeat you." Netero laughed, "It's really scary to be a confident youth." The two walked to the forest away from the association building. "What a good place to fight," Allan said. "Well, this is where I practice usually," Netero said. "Then, this place may be destroyed later," Allan said. "Let go. Then I will use the most basic skills to spar with the chairman. Although I'm old, my body is still strong, you know," Netero said. "I'm going first, be careful, chairman." Soon, Allan seemed to teleport and arrive before Netero with a punch. Allan didn't use armament haki in his punch but instead used Tekai from the 6 techniques of the Marine. Although it wasn't strong as armament haki, it can't be underestimated. Netero used his nin to improve his body's offense and defense and fought with Allan. Bang! 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 In the forest, 2 figures continued to collide against each other. Flash steps. Allan appeared behind Netero quickly and kicked, but Netero reacted in time and turned around blocking Allan's attack. Shiken. Allan immediately used another one of the Roku Shiki to harden his index finger and stabbed at Netero. The latter couldn't avoid the attack and could only defend using his palm. Rankyaku. Allan pulled some distance between them and kicked out. A crescent-shaped slash flew toward Netero, who gave a low grunt and punched the slash and shattered it. Allan then went back to close combat once again. Netero became frightened the longer they fought. Allan actually matched him in terms of physical strength. No, he felt that Allan was better than him, whether it's speed or reflex, he was faster. Fortunately, his body had gone through many years of practice, and even with age, he could still have a strong body. As a result, Netero had to admit that Allan was stronger than him in terms of physical skills. Allan, next, you try this old man's 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, Netero said.